Listen, babe. Oh, yeah. It's alright, alright, alright. 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 Listen, babe. Oh, yeah. It's alright, alright, alright.
What's the word? They over here roasting each other right now. They having a cap contest. My name is Court Smith, and I'm your host tonight for another another edition of Hope. Um, no, for real, this is another one of those classes. So I hope you brought your pen and your pad and ready to take notes and engage because we're gonna really go at it again today. Um, Title of today's class is called Tunnel Vision, Scarcity and Transactional, which I'm excited to get some of that game as well. So um, buckle up and let's get it started. So slide number 1. Now, this is a concept that I wanted to uh, introduce to you guys and even just engage with you guys on. In this entrepreneurial journey, we generalize that most people are lazy. So if you want to take up an entrepreneurial venture and you want to dive into a particular market to say, hey, I want to get into this space, there's a million people who want to get in that space too. Absolutely. So most of the spaces you want to get in, there's millions of people who want that space too. Now, how do you separate yourself? So the way the rule typically works is 80% of those folks are lazy. You ain't really got to worry about 80% of them. They're going to have some challenges, mental, physical, or both, or other things that prevent them from really getting up and going after it and competing with you. Excuse me. So we call that the impotent 80. Most of them, you ain't got to worry about them. It's the 20% that's going after it like you. It's the 20%. So a lot of times the 20% are watching the same videos you're watching, reading the same books you're reading, getting the same tools, going to the same schools, getting the same education, classes. You generally in the same spaces. So if I want to design a t-shirt and you want to design a t-shirt is a t-shirt, right? A font is a font. Color is a color. It ain't like I can invent a new color to separate myself from the crowd. And the designs have to resonate with the culture. So in order for my designs to resonate with the culture, it has to be widely known. Well, if it's widely known for me, it's widely known for you, and everybody else. So how do people separate themselves then? How do people make massive amounts of money in what they're doing, while others who are going after it the same way, they get goose eggs, they get nothing, they make no money? Because the other side of first principle thinking and second order thinking is not what you're doing a lot of times. For most of you in that 20% who ain't lazy, who going after it, it's what you got to stop doing. It's what you got to stop doing. And most of the time, nobody want to hear what they got to stop doing. Truth. So entrepreneurially, there's 24 hours in a day, period, for all of us. Why is your 24 hours more profitable than your 24 hours? Why do you generate more revenue in your 24 than you do? And everybody's working their ass off. Everybody's working hard. In those particular situations, you got to stop looking at what you're doing, and you got to stop considering what to do. What can I add? What else can I do? What do I need to do? You got to also ask what I need to stop doing. What I got to stop. What do I have to sacrifice? What do I have to let go of? What do I got to let go of in order to achieve my goals? So maybe, before I say that, the days are broken down into hours, right? And the hours are broken down into minutes, and the minutes broken down into seconds. So everything can be compartmentalized within time. But a lot of times we think 24 hours, but days carry over. So rhythms and patterns don't care about the 24 hours. They will carry over to the next day or the next week or the next month and sometimes the next year. If you deep into a rhythm of a pattern. So if me and you are in the same industry and you partying Friday night and you get drunk as fuck, you knocked back. Not only did you lose that Friday night, but you lost that Saturday. Guess what I'm doing? Getting it. Guess what I'm doing Saturday? Getting it with a clear mind. Drink my water, burn my sage, whatever woo-woo shit I do, and go after it. Just that one night difference of what I don't do versus what you do. That's 52 times. That's 52 days in 1 year that I whooped your ass. Just 52. We're not barring nothing else different. Just that Friday night to Saturday night. Say you you just can't stop Instagram. That's your thing. I work hard. I do so much. I do so much. I need some stress reliever. So you spend that 2-3 hours a day scrolling Instagram. It's just you call it, what do you call that? Guilty pleasure, right? Guilty pleasure. But say the person next to you only jumps on Instagram for 30 minutes a day. So you add that time up again, and now you're adding more weeks to your separation. And don't get mad at me. I'm just keeping it real. Say you smoke weed. Everybody smoke weed. It's legal. Shit. But you smoke weed like you smoke weed. Like you smoke. You wake and bake. You wake up high. You got to take a lunch break. And before you go to bed, you smoking weed all day, every day. I'm not judging. I'm just keeping it real. Say I don't. Just say I don't. The clarity of mind, because I smoked weed for so long, I know the difference in myself. And I'll write down, when I'm high, I'd write down a dope ass idea. And then when I'm not high, I look at that idea and be like, that is the dumbest shit ever. It's the truth. But if I get back high, then it's a dope idea again. It's like a. Let me finish. But that's just me. It may not be nobody else. It's just me. All right. Don't think I'm pointing any of you motherfuckers out. She say maybe it's the strain I'm smoking. Maybe shit. And nowadays the strains be so strong. It's 26% THC. Like that's crack. Anyways, you add up that time. So you add up the drinking time. You add up the smoking time. You add up the Instagram time. So you add up the TV time. say you add up, you're in volatile relationships, so you always going at it with friends, family members, because you're surrounding yourself with volatile, toxic folks. So you triggered me. Now I'm hot. We argue for an hour. Not only did I lose that hour arguing with you, it took me 2 hours to come down. And that happens twice a week. Because them the kind of people I surround myself with. You see how that adds up? And maybe the person next to you cleared out those people, stop kicking it with them, stop hanging out. This has nothing to do with entrepreneurship. However, it fucking does. Because that person has that extra time. You wake up happy, around happy people. Hey, go get it. Have a great day today. Thank you. You ready to go. And you're working just as hard as that person next to you in your same field. But with all those distractions and things that you're doing, it's not about the work. It's not about the work or the hustle. It's what you got to stop. It's what you got to sacrifice. And I know it sucks. I know it sucks. Because it's your guilty, the things you like to do. I remember when I had to go through them, like I had a list of things that I did. And I'm like, well, I'll stop doing that, but I'm not doing that. I'm not stopping that. That's my shit. I'll stop doing that, but we ain't stopping that. I need something. I'm going to be a church boy if I stop everything, right? Because that's the mindset. However, when I crossed off the list and I seen the difference, fuck, I got to stop. Because it's not what because you're going to reach a max at what you're doing at some point. You're going to hit a ceiling. It's only certain many hours a day. But you'll see the makeup time when what you stop, what you sacrifice. What are you willing to give up in order to achieve your goals and your dreams and grow your business? Now, I'm not saying those things, I'm not saying it translates to you, the things I had to stop. But what I'm suggesting to you is you take a long, hard look at the things you're doing and run an experiment. Run an experiment. Are you scared to run an experiment because of what might happen? Fuck, if I run this experiment and it tells me I need to stop doing it, then damn, now I know, then I'm on the hook for it. If you always going after bad boys and thugs and gangsters and all this shit because that's what you're attracted to, but they running you through the ringer, hella drama, and you trying to build a business? What? Come on. If you got 13 sneaky links, sneaky link? You got 13 of them. You got 13 sneaky links, and you trying to run a business. You trying to build an entrepreneurial venture, and you juggling around multiple. I think I don't care how hard you work. I don't care how hard you work, because it's not what you're doing is what you need to stop doing. So I want to introduce that thought to you. We talked about it. Shadows and dark sides, that's how we move. We're human. That's how we going to get down. That's not ever going to change until we croak. So what I'm suggesting is for us to walk around and be choir people. No, we're human and we're going to do human stuff. But when it comes to entrepreneurship and growing your business, if you aren't growing on the side of doing, sometimes reflect and take another hard look at the stuff you may need to stop doing. Any questions on that? Shakina, you good?
Oh, I have a question. Um, I'm equating this to Science is Stuck, um, where um, it talks about if you find yourself scrolling, if you find yourself kind of in this like loop, scrolling, drama, whatever the thing is, right? So she talks about um, that's an indication of like motivation is off. I'm paraphrasing like heck right now, so go with me. So motivation is off because humans are always motivated, but if you find yourself kind of like off doing something, that's an indication your something is shifting into survival mode. And so when you say, what are you willing to stop doing? I'm wondering how you would suggest, just how you would suggest someone go about that. So you mentioned like your list of things that you were willing to do. And on that list, there were things that you wouldn't do.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe the thing that you say you're not going to do, you also need to let go of, right? It's not purity, but it just may not be beneficial.
Mm-hmm.
And so what would you, so if I said to you, Court, like, I don't want to give up the thugs. Like, I gave up a lot of stuff already. I eat salad now. I do a lot of stuff. I don't want to give up the thugs. I'm sorry. Like, I pray, I meditate. If I show you my things, I'm at like 100 days straight. I'm consecutive. I'm good.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's not me. I'm just saying. I'm
Thug
asking the
love.
question.
Thug love is too strong.
I'm just.
I'm fighting so hard right now.
This is.
Go ahead, speak as much as you can. Let them use you.
It's hypothetical. So I'm asking, when it's like, no, you probably you're gonna have to lay off the thugs too. It's not beneficial for you.
Lay off the thugs, literally. Go ahead. Yes, I'm
No,
listening.
she's testifying.
She testified.
Her trials and tribulations.
No.
Okay.
What's the next step?
Okay. So the thing about the list, what I was saying was, so there's no confusion, everything is divorceable. Even the thing I don't want to stop doing. Everything is divorceable. I'm gonna answer her and I'm gonna come to you, Charlize. Everything is divorceable. But you two things. One thing that can help you is if you go to the Science is Stuck meetings on the weekend, because that's what they're talking about. How to get unstuck. Most of the time when you are doing certain things, it's to distract you, or you're running from something, or it's scarcity. Patterns. What you run into what's comfortable. There's several reasons why. And there's lots of ways to fix those things. It could be Science is Stuck. It can be therapy. It can be a book. It can be your spiritual / religious beliefs. But this is the one, and I'm not an expert in all those things, but I know those are ways that can help you. But this is the one tried and true way for me and the people I know around me who come from where I come from, got the same trauma that I got, has the same capacity for good and bad, and ratchet and hood that I have, and still manage to maintain a certain level of discipline and self-control. This is the one thing. The power of purpose is so strong. When you find your purpose, it's amazing what stuff you're willing to give up. When what you're doing is purpose driven. It's amazing. It's amazing. Absolutely amazing. So 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 trying different processes like that. Science is stuck. Being around people in those situations and going through the list of what I just talked about. But when you find your purpose and you put that thing up against your purpose that's much bigger than you, and you put this thing up and you say, am I willing to sacrifice this thing for my purpose? Most of the time, 9 times out of 10, maybe 9.5 out of 10, your purpose is going to beat it out. There's some things that I don't do now that I would never thought I could get over. But what I'm doing is aligned to my purpose. So that is one method. That's why we push purpose so hard, because purpose gives you superpowers when it comes to bypassing self. It's not just about the stories we hear about extraordinary things people do in the service to others, and all of a sudden they get these amazing abilities. But that happens in the long game too. When you decide, I'm gonna live in my purpose, and I'm gonna build this thing that hopefully grows and grows after I'm gone, that can positively impact my community and it is of service to the community. You willing to, like, man, fuck that shit. And it's something that you may have been addicted to. So that's my suggestion for that. But hit that stuck class, Charlize. Microphone.
You kind of already tapped on this in the form of processes, but say there are things that you can't just go full cold turkey on right away.
Mm-hmm.
What are some like solutions to breaking the habits that lead to those habits, or finding positive ways to substitute that habit with maybe something else that was like a reinforcement to that?
Good question. There's things that's taken me like 3 years to quit. 3 years. The thing is this. First is the power of intention. Is deciding that that's what you're going to do. This is what I'm going to do. Second is you got to be gentle with yourself. It's not a perfection game. You're playing a long game. You're playing a calendar year game. And so say you decided, I'm not doing something. I'm done. Day 1, you good. Day 2, you good. Day 3, you're a little less than good. Day 4, you're about halfway good. Day 5, you're a quarter good. Day 6, fuck that shit. Where's it at? Right? At the end of the day, and that happens every week. Now, some people look at that like, I failed. Man, I keep messing up. I keep failing. I keep messing up. You know what I look at? I do the numbers. How many days was I off? How many days was I on? I actually did say it's 8 bad or 8 good. I actually ate good 20 days out of the month, and I messed up 10. That's excellent. That's a good start. If you do the numbers. If you failed like that every month, imagine your improvement. It's just a numbers game. You're doing the math. The whole key is to not quit and not give up. Now, the goals after that is just to extend the times. I went 5 days, and then I fell off after the 5th day. A month later, can I do 6? It's just a numbers game. And if you're gentle with yourself and you're always reminding yourself of your purpose, because there's pros and cons to all of it. All our dark side stuff, there's pros to it. It's fun, it's adventurous, it feels good, looks good, and lots of other shit. So there's pros to it. So the goal is to bring the cons closer and bring your purpose closer, Because if I don't do this, if I continue down this path, then I'm not going to get there. So what I'm saying is, I don't have a magic thing to say, boom, this is how you're going to stop. But go after it. Try a different method. Try method A. Try method B. Talk to somebody who's quit some stuff around you and quit for a long time. What'd you do? How'd you do it? How come you so fucking happy? What are you doing? How come you have the goal weight that I had and you were my weight a year ago? How come you, like, talk to people? You'll uncover all kind of micro strategies that people have. Get out of your silos. We all hear it, and we vulnerable and open enough to communicate with each other in those ways with love. So, try it. Like, try different methods, different books. I've tried so much stuff. I remember I got down to the final 2, and I could not break these 2. I tried so hard. I tried. Kept failing. It's just about not giving up, though. Especially if it's about your purpose, and the purpose has to be bigger than you. Kaja versus Kaja.
This is spot on because I was just having a conversation walking into class about exactly where you started, which is differentiating yourself, right, with what you're doing. And in recent weeks, I had occasion to be in shared spaces. And one of the things that people brought up to me, 2 different instances, different people, but they brought up to me, and the basis of this question is, what if the things that you are potentially looking at stopping doing don't really have negative connotations? So in these instances, people brought to my attention, there was like 45 minutes between the time I woke up and the time I was showered, dressed, and out of the door. That whole thing that y'all talk about in here of like a morning routine where you do whatever, whether that's meditate, you pray, you read, I don't want to say it's uncomfortable for me because I don't want to reduce it to comfort or discomfort. But I felt like you have a certain number of things, like the day is planned, and not day job stuff, because in both instances, I was traveling for my own stuff. So I wasn't trying to meet corporate deadlines. But I had an outline of what I needed to get covered in the day. And it just felt like such a waste of my time to lay there doing other things where I felt like, okay, you have a schedule, you don't want to be jammed up against time, you don't know what incidental things are going to happen during the day to throw off your schedule. So if you fuck off this time in the morning, now you're riding the rails with time. So get up so that you can move at the pace you need to move at. And I found that, number one, that's just how I operate. I don't see it because I'm just going about my business. But when people saw it, they're like, why are you jumping about the bed like you on fire? And I'm like, because I have things to do. And they're like, okay, well, you be slow and you take time and you do this and you journal. And I'm like, who got the time for that? Like, I didn't want to stop doing it, and lightweight kind of still don't, because it doesn't feel efficient. So I didn't see a negative association to doing it, which made me not feel like I wanted to stop doing it.
Good. Okay. Thank you. That's why I miss you. Because you bring up points like that. So now, certain things can be counterintuitive, meaning they may seem like they are a waste, but they actually give you a boost. Certain things. And the way you know is by running the experiment. So you may think meditating for an hour and then going to gym for an hour, that's 2 hours out of every day that you could spend working. Now, research shows this, is that, yes, that's true. You can be grinding through while I'm meditating or while I'm working out. You could be grinding, working. But guess what? When I'm out of that meditation, I smoke past. Because I got new ideas, new downloads ways to skip steps, jump around, get over certain obstacles, and you're swinging the axe at the tree. Same thing with working out. Working out does the same thing. So there's certain things that seem counterintuitive because they're time intensive, but it's also like pressing the nitrous oxide button in a car. And over time, a person's productivity goes like this. So you really only got 2.5, 3 hours of like firing. Then after 2.5 hours, you're really just oscillating. Your brain power gets slower. Now you're moving at like 60 miles an hour. You started off at 100 and now you're kind of at 60 and you get down to like 30, but you're like, I'm gonna go all day, every day. So when you're at 30, I started at 100 too, but working out, meditating, when I come out of that, I'm at 200. Past you. So there's certain things that seem we was talking about Stephen Covey earlier before class, but it was one dope quote that he says is like, if you had 4 hours to chop down a tree, I'd spend 3 hours sharpening my saw. 1 hour chopping. And by the time you get to that fourth hour, your saw is smooth like a baby. So so some things are counterintuitive. And here's the deal. You don't know until you try it. So a lot of times we'll take something in and be like, I don't know about that. That don't sound, I ain't doing that. We all do it. And you never experience it to know how counterintuitive and how it actually works. That's like people who like, I look around, the earth looked pretty flat to me. The earth looked pretty, earth looked pretty flat to me. Look, that don't make no sense. Not realizing there's a whole 3-dimensional world that you're missing based on your input, your thought. Cool?
Can I add to that too?
Yep.
A lot of stuff that you're talking about. So a lot of these temptations, a lot of these flaws, they actually function beneath the consciousness, the subconscious. So you know how we always talk about feedback, why feedback's so important? Because there's portions of yourself you don't have any access to, right? But it's driving, it's pulling the strings, it's dictating your actions, it's creating these patterns of behavior. A lot of times when you're analyzing, you're trapped in I call it a rational limitation. So when you get up in the morning, like it makes no sense, like everything you said was very rational, but there's limitations to rationality, right? What we also forget about is let's first of all, let's blow your idea out larger and larger and larger. What happens when life gets busier and busier? How sustainable is that process? Like at what point does that process break, right? At some point you have to be able to sit down and strategize and think and process. If you allow yourself, and the difference between that is, remember we talked about the different consciousness between the working class and the building class? That's how the working class tackles their problems. They work harder. The building class thinks of innovation, creativity as one of his major tools to solve the problem. He even thinks about outsourcing. So like, for example, I heard a guy today, he happens to be the cook for his household. His wife's like, yo, as long as you're at home tomorrow at 7 a.m. to make breakfast, I don't really care. You have to be going all night, it's all good. He's like, but I'll be working for 24 hours. And I'm sitting there looking at the guy going, yeah, just DoorDash it, bro. Go back to sleep. Like, that's how entrepreneurs, like, I get the job done, but it doesn't mean I'm going to put my hands on it, right? And so sometimes if you just take off running, you forget all the opportunities you're missing because you didn't stop and go, well, I can have this person. Even sometimes you think you're saving money because you're cost conscious, and you don't realize if you paid somebody else to do it, you would actually save money, but you can't see that because you're just knocking down one tree after the next tree and realizing that those 7 trees even need to be knocked down. I can pay this dude to knock down the next 20. That means I just freed up 7 hours of my day. So now I can invest in something else, which is growing my business. But as long as you get trapped in hitting one goal to the next goal, you'll never get to the entrepreneur game. You'll be self-employed for the rest of your life. I know that's why a lot of artists can't never be entrepreneurs. They're doing all the shoots, all the editing, all the negotiations, all the phone calls. You got to get that up somewhere so you can have time to build relationships and then grow so many relationships and have multiple photographers and then skim a portion off the top to the point that residual all around the clock hours of all your photographers working makes more than you could ever make in one day.
Dope. I didn't mean to come out swinging slide 1, but
Man, you got to do what you got to do.
got to do what I got to do.
Man, you know what I'm saying?
Next slide. Here's a recap from last week. So we talked about social currency versus real currency and how it's so important for us to know, A, the difference, and B, know how to concentrate on both and focus on the end state, and that's your real currency. And understand the true value of social currency. Social currency is a tool, just like real currency is a tool, but the value exchange is different. Second, most of the greats are humble. Most of the greats are humble. If you ever have the fortune to be around greats, people who perform at the highest level, they're some of the most curious people. You can't. Sometimes it's hard to keep a conversation because they'll be asking dumb shit about you. Where'd you get your hair done at? What kind of braid is that? Is that pink or is that fuchsia? Or what color is that Nike? Where'd you get that from? The outlet? Like, because the curiosity, it comes from a humility. We have to be humble. We all in this. We have to be humble. I remember I watched a presentation that Steve Jobs gave to the city of Cupertino because he wanted to build that spaceship thing on the ground. You guys ever watch that? He presented that like he was a nobody. Hi, my name is Steve Jobs, and I have a company that we make stuff like because if you don't move with that kind of energy, you block anything else new from coming in. Most humbles are great. Most of the greats are humble. I can go on and on about many great folks that I've been around, and shockingly, my mentor, Hap Klopp, the founder of North Face, the North Face, is my mentor currently and on the board of my company to this day. One of the coolest, humblest dudes you ever want to be around. Ever want to be around. Billions. If I call him right now, he'll pick up. Courtney, I'm sorry. Can I call you back? I'm in the middle of this meeting, but I'll call you right back as soon as I'm. Of course, you can call me back. That's how it goes. You will be surprised. This ego posturing, boss, queen, king bullshit is fake. It's fake. We can have confidence. We can create status signals in order to raise the value of our brand, but it's a tool. Internally, humble. My other mentor, Mark Mastroff, founder of North Face. Coolest dude you ever want to meet. Dude, same thing. Went to Cal State East Bay. Wasn't trying to be no billionaire. He just needed a job. He was working at the 24-hour Nautilus in San Leandro, next to Lucky's, across the street from Bayfair, at night while he was going to college. He was the guy working on the the equipment. Played hoop. About to get fired because the company was closing down. So he like, I like this job. I don't want it to close down. Went to his grandma. Grandma loaned him $20K to save the company, and it was his. And to this day, coolest guy, most humble guy you ever want to meet. He's like John B. Like he's like the white Mike in every hood. That's him. And I'll ask him business questions, trying to look for long philosophical answers to find solutions to my problems, and he'll give me basketball analogies. Man, it's like, man, if you the point guard, man, right? Yep. So you got to make sure everybody get the ball. Like, thanks, bro. So humble. This man, humble. Next slide. Any questions on those two things? No? We all good and humble? All right, next slide. Oh, there go my shadow right there. Good God. Good God.
Can we just talk about that for a second?
Yeah, let's talk about that. I need a milkshake right now. All right, ego is the enemy. Let's go. Thank you, Danielle. Appreciate that. Next slide. So, here we are at the question, why are you here? What is your purpose? We're doubling back on this. Why are you here? What is your purpose? Because I want you to look for it. Now, last week before, we talked about if you're having a tough time finding your purpose, most of the time purpose comes from what? Grab the mic. Where does your purpose come from?
From what I remember, I believe you said our purpose usually comes from what we've been through, our experiences. So, like, you want to get out of a bad situation. No.
Nope. Anybody else?
It comes from the people that we serve outside of ourselves.
Yes. Service. When you start becoming a service-oriented person, your purpose starts forming. This is what I'm here to do. And the capacity in which you serve may change, but it starts with service. So again, service again is tied to purpose. Purpose is tied to building things bigger than yourself. You see how we're creating these chain link fence to these things? You can't run from it. You can't. And if you do, we'll be in the same situation. Stuck. Having to read stuck. Trying to get unstuck. When it's not what you do, it's what you got to stop doing. So it's about being of service. How can I serve you? How can I help you? So your purpose comes when you focus on being of service. What's the little? I need my glasses. I can't even read the little. Go ahead, Shabisha.
I'm gonna bring you a little magnifying.
I got my
glass.
glasses.
It says, "Does your purpose bring you more social currency than impact?"
And that should be reworded because if that is even a question, it's not purpose. It's fueled by ego. True purpose, you feel it. You know how like a lot of times you make fun of this guy right here and say like he's a pastor, he should be preaching, he like you know what you subconsciously are saying? You know what you subconsciously are saying? You can feel God working through him. You just joke around about it. When somebody's in their purpose, hard and strong, they don't even got to be religious. They don't even got to go to church. The Bible does say he could use a rock, right? Then why can't he use somebody who don't even believe? A person that don't go to church. But when somebody is deep in their purpose, you can feel it, right? It's something spiritual about you. I don't talk to me about woo woo shit. You're the most spiritual person there is, because when you completely dedicate yourself to your purpose, God is working through you. So we joke, but that's real.
I'm sorry. Y'all don't know what it's like to be friends with Chamara because she says funny church things.
It's true story. True story. And you'll see people gravitate to people like that who are living their purpose. They become beacons of light, and people gravitate towards them because you're locked in, rooted in your purpose. So if also another clue, if you in isolation, if you ain't nobody fucking with you, you got hella haters, you this, you that, you're cold. Meaning you have no roots in you're cold. You know why you're cold? Because everything's all about you.
Say it.
Everything all about you. Me, 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 me. Everything all about you. Life ain't fair. Everything all about you. You got to get yours. Fuck everybody else. You. That's the math. If you want love, if you don't feel loved, this is how this shit works, and this is how service works. If you want love because you don't feel loved, love is an action. Go love somebody.
Uh-oh.
It's a service. Go love somebody. Love on somebody and see how that returns back to you. Give what you want.
Uh-oh.
That's called service. You want more friends? Be a good friend to somebody. You want joy? Bring joy to somebody's life. What you want, you'll get back. That is the math. That is the math. A lot of times, again, it's the counterintuitive thinking because we think 1 + 1 = 2, and that's it. But there's times, there's multiplications, there's divisions, there's adding, there's sine, cosines, tangents, the exponents. There's so much other math that you stuck on 1 + 1 = 2, and that kind of thinking. That's how we stay stuck. So, does your purpose bring more social currency than impact? Next slide. Kaja versus Kaja. That's her Instagram name, by the way. So follow her on Instagram.
Oh, thank you,
All
Bert.
platforms. Kaja versus Kaja.
Thank you. I don't want to hold up the room, but I'm so full of questions today because I feel like I've had some time to be mixing around in the space, and so I came back with questions. And I want to say this, I'm trying to think of the way to put it where it doesn't sound like hating, because just within my own mind, I'm like, sometimes you're being a hater. With that slide that said social currency versus impact, the things that I'm doing are touching in a space where it's almost better to have social currency than impact. And I find myself getting annoyed, right? Because I'm looking at where the social currency is, and I can tell that it's not very likely that there's a real heart for impact there, right? And wondering why other people can't see that. Like, I'm like, how are you performing at the numbers you're performing at? Because it's highly unlikely that you have any data to support that what you do yields any return to the end users. Your market is very limited. It's very one-dimensional, right? And a lot of the players are very one-dimensional. And so sometimes it feels aggravating because I'm like, you don't really have the heart for what you're doing. You just found a market and you're marketing the market. And I can't be mad at it. It's a good strategy. But if this is who you're in the competitive arena with, I'm not prepared to do like I'm not gonna shuck and jive.
Mm.
So I don't know not how to compete with them, but are we in the same space? Is this your market competition? If it is, do you want to be competing in that market? Because there's certain things I'm not willing to do to pop.
Okay, so there's a lot in there, but let me unpack a couple of things. Thing number one: if someone is performing at a level financially that you know that they're performing at a certain financial level, right? Maybe they're making a lion's share of the pot that everybody wants. None of us know exactly what they're doing or how they're getting it. So anything we say is a gross assumption. We don't know. There's 1,000 different ways they could be getting there, but they're there. Thing number one. So first thing is I would get out of their process because those assumptions are gonna hurt your business because it already is, because the subject is affecting the predicate, because now the predicate says generalization, assumption, 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 assumption. And if that's how they got it, then I don't want to do that. But all those things are probably wrong. You know what I'm saying? So now you're making decisions based on a generalization and a guess, based on what you see with this. That's the world is flat, remember? So whenever you get in those situations, that could be our little secret password. The world is flat, because you're flattening the world right now, and it's spherical and it's round. It looks flat. So I just see when they pop out, I see the dumb shit they say, I see how they posture, I see all those things, and I see the money, and I'm equating 1 + 1 = 2. But that's a flat world thinking. It's flat earth thinking. So always first say, it must be hella shit that I don't know. That's dope that they're able to perform in the same space that I'm performing. That's dope. And whatever they're doing, I don't know. I'm going to continue to learn. I'm going to continue to read and improve myself and build my niche and my brand. That's the thing. Now, social currency. Again, we don't demonize it. We need it. You want to make more money? You can get more social. You want to make more money? Of course, social currency helps. Absolutely. That's the difference between luxury brands and Kmart, right? So it's social currency. So you can raise the price of real currency based on where your social currency is. So absolutely. Most of us spend all of our time on the social currency side. And on the bank account side, nothing there. So do not allow your generalizations to create new stories for you. Because shucking and jiving, what the fuck is shucking and jiving? Mm-hmm. What is that? Like, what's a shuck and what's a jive? You know what I'm saying? Like, are you literally dancing in front of people? No, you're probably saying that you don't want to sacrifice your values, morals, integrity, and all these things, which are interchangeable, to get the bag. That's you saying, just in case I don't get this bag, these are my reasons. Ooh. Here are my reasons. See, I don't got the bag, but this is why. At least I got my integrity. You can't buy a house with that shit.
Can I get some of that too?
Of course.
So first of all, let me say this real quick. I'm going to show you guys why it's important to have entrepreneurs in your circle. Here's what the first thing came to my mind. In business, you know what kills a lot of people in business? They don't realize everybody's playing different games. And if you assume the game you're playing is the same game they're playing, you don't understand the games. 2, short game and long game are 2 different games. And so you may have a long-term game plan and they have a short game plan. And you overanalyze them and your analysis is absolutely incorrect. Now, you see how we kind of came from 2 different angles? That is what you need in business. He has dope-ass ideas, I have dope-ass ideas. But when you have that collaboration, now I have 4 dope-ass ideas. This is why feedback loops and collaborations, lowering your ego, building relationships, having that right circle is so important. Y'all get caught up in this high school definition of, oh, that's my friend, that's my friend. Oh, that's my friend, they make me feel comfortable. That's all you're really saying. And I think Shannon Sharp says nothing grows in the comfort zone, right? And so the reality is that by having friends who are processing from a deeper level of complexity, because the answers he gave, I didn't even see it coming. Before it came out of his mouth. And when he finished saying, I was like, bravo. But I had my own answers too. So now we sit at the table and we're mixing this soup together. Now you see how we're more robust together. That's why I see a lot of entrepreneurs down the vine. We got too many people who can't swim in this river with us, and we're isolated.
That was fire. Stank face right now. Like. Next slide. Oh, we're
Can I
here.
ask
We're at the next slide. Go ahead.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Kind of going back a slide to purpose. In this space, we've talked repeatedly about us not doing business in our own community and how we ignore the opportunities that are right here in our backyard to go somewhere else. And I also want to add to that, we've had conversations around Black economy is like a developing market.
It's a separate, it's like a foreign land.
Okay. Here has been my experience in the last 30 days. A shit ton of frustration with how much is, okay, Josh, I'm going closer. Josh signaling me.
Mm-hmm.
So here's been a lot of frustration at the state of affairs and just trying to make connection. Part of that is my own bumping my head against the wall because I'm in spaces that I don't know and I don't understand it all. And so it's a lot of like my own assumptions meeting the edge of that and that just feeling frustrating. How do you come out of that? What are some ways that you came out of that? Because I know you started Hope because in many ways you were like, it's hard to do business here. I'm going to have to, like my peers, we're going to have a space where my peers can be developed, where they can be developed because they're not exactly here right now. And if I want to do business with Black folks, they don't know this stuff. So I'm going to make this available. But in the meantime, how did you deal with coming to the end of your own assumptions about things? Because what I'm feeling like is like this is all me and me being frustrated that things are not the way I think they should be.
Should.
Exactly. So, but there's real frustration here because things are really muddy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm playing a long game. That's the thing. It's not a short game. Go back to that. It's like I had to change the game I'm playing. I also realized the game is not playing. I'm serving somebody. I'm not controlling somebody. So when I'm trying to help other people, I'm serving them, and I'm investing in a long. And in a long game, that means a lot of disappointments, and I'm used to it. So it's like, oh, okay, I'm serving you, right? But I'm also looking at the long play. Now, if I see no momentum, and I feel like every time, the more time you spend with me, the more you're going backwards, I may abandon you. But if you're constantly making some type of progress,
Gotcha.
I'm humanizing you.
Gotcha.
I'm not looking for perfectionism.
Gotcha.
That'd be my limitation. 3 is that I notice when I have conversations with people, sometimes people go into instant defense, like, oh, God, and a lot of my conversations now, especially in the last, like, say, year, has been, okay, I accept whatever what had just happened.
Mm-hmm.
All right, how do we move forward now? And when I'm trying to have a move forward conversation, the person is still stuck in what they did. And it's like, no, let's move forward. Because what I'm learning more and more is that me being stuck in what you did is a mental distortion, and all it does is shames you and causes damage to me.
Mm-hmm.
So if I can focus on where I want you to go,
Mm-hmm.
or if you're even capable of going there,
Mm-hmm.
then that's where the value is added for me and you.
Let's go. Next slide. And let's go to. Okay. So we're to be or to do. Which way will you go? So again, a lot of times you get what we call instant gratification for being. You can dress up a certain way. You could dress up like a queen and walk with your head up down the street and get attention and get treated like a king, like a queen, without even having to be a real one. And that instant gratification, the addiction of that is so tempting that most of us live in that space, especially when entrepreneurship beats us down. And you want some validation. You've been going at this for a long time. You've been out there in them streets going after it and getting no after no after no, little returns, little results. You're frustrated. You're ready to quit. And man, I just want to feel good for a weekend. And that is the temptation. But we have to stay in the do space. We have to stay in the do space. Everything else is tools along the way. But we have to stay in the do space. What are we doing every single day to move our business forward? That's why the going to the gym comes such in play. Because it prepares you for the no's. It prepares you for the frustration. It prepares you for the rejection. It prepares you for the hurt. It prepares you for the pain. Every day you go out and you seek it. So when it comes in real life, it hurts. But you're used to it. You're used to it. You don't look cool when you're working out and the weight's shitting on you. And somebody has to come to your aid. Here, little boy, you can come, let me help you up.
Yeah.
Right? They don't feel good. You can't be cute on a treadmill after the 4th mile. You got sweat everywhere. And it pushes you to push yourself. So when you get out there in the game to do, when you hit that wall or that rejection or whatever, you're still willing to push forward because you know that subconsciously, you know what progress feels like. Because you know you were only able to walk 0.8 miles 3 months ago, and now you can walk 3.5. So you know what progress feels like. Next slide. That's why, again, we bringing back the student versus the master. Anybody in spaces where they are always acting like the master, like they know shit, they the teacher, they're the instructor, they're the guru, you are stuck right there. No more. If you can look around in life and everything you got in life is amazing and exactly what you want, hey, be a full-time guru. Be a full-time master. If it's not, throw that master shit in the garbage. Fuck that master shit. Guru, this, that. It is, what it does is it will paralyze you in your growth. And the people that can come to your aid and can help you, they no longer want to. You don't need me, right? You got it. You got it. So if you're always in constant learn mode, if you're in constant learn mode, how'd you do that? Then that's going to help you grow. It's funny. One of the students in class 3-4 years ago, wasn't in class, it was in the gym. I'm working out. He's like, yeah, you're an entrepreneur. I got somebody for you. He's one of my mentors, and he could definitely help you grow your business. Cool, let's do it. Comes to my office, looks around. So, what's your numbers? So I'm like, I like dude. He going straight to it. Tell him my numbers. How come you're not doing double, more than that? I'm like, I don't know. Maybe you should, let's talk. Maybe you can help me. And so he's like, and he starts talking. And as soon as he opens his mouth, I'm like, this motherfucker don't know shit. He's posturing. He's posturing. And he wasted my time. He wasted my hour. So I'm like, hey, time out. So tell me about yourself. What business do you have? What are you doing? And he goes off and names off like 5 businesses he's running at the same time. And one of them is like an MLM, and the other one is like, and I'm like, this motherfucker got me. I was like, hey, it was nice talking to you. I'll see you later. Because sometimes when you open and you're willing to listen, sometimes you, like, that happens sometimes. And next time I saw him, I pulled him aside and said, hey man, this ain't like, here's some books you need to read to get you there. I read those books. I know that book. I've heard of that book. You should probably come to the class. I know that. One time I was like, hey, no, I want to introduce you to somebody. And I backed away to go do my workout. Like, yeah, that's what you get, motherfucker. Fucking with me. Because that, like, as black folks, is not isolated. We live in a world like that. We live in a world full of that. The thing is, great entrepreneurs are great students. They're continuing to learn at all times. I think the book talks about an example about, it was the guitarist or the drummer of a Metallica, one of the most popular rock bands in the world. Guess what dude did? He takes lessons somewhere in Berkeley. For years, even after he was doing well as a drummer for Metallica, he would go to a small shop in Berkeley, California, and take drumming lessons continuously. He'll make more money in one show than a lot of people will make in a year, and he still did that. Because that's what masters do. People who are at the highest level, that's what they do. That's what the greats do. You just don't know it. You don't know it. Next slide. Ooh.
The master does not have to be perfect. So many are so consumed with hero worship that they expect a person who is an expert in one particular area to be a Messiah-like individual that makes no mistake in life. Never forget the humanness of your masters. This is great.
Fire.
This is great.
Well, you know, Martin Luther King cheated on his wife. Man, will you shut the hell up? Your ass gets to be woke and social justice-y because of him. Let's go reverse time because of that and have him not say, I have a dream then, and see what shit look like. Sometimes we will romanticize people who excel at a particular area, and it's not just us. That is how us sheep-like people are wired. Entrepreneurs, on the other hand, wolves, we're not connected like that. We disconnect from that. Wolves can disconnect and compartmentalize a person's strengths and disregard their weaknesses. That's why sometimes the people who are the romanticized folks, the hero worship folks, if you say, well, you a Democrat or a Republican? And if a person says, well, I like some of the stuff the Democrats do, and I like this over here that the Republicans do, and I like this. What? You're not one or the other. Unfollow me.
Yeah, man.
Because we have this hero worship mindset that if you're good at this thing, you're perfect at everything. And you'll lose out on the gifts, the tools, the learning, the growth of a human being. That, remember, that person is a human being just like you. They got dark sides and shadows just like you. They got little addictions just like you. They watch porn and shit just like you. They do all the shit. But they happen to excel in this particular area, and they focused on it so much that they rose above everyone else. And for you to throw that out with everything else because of their humanness, it makes you weak. It makes you a sheep. There's a documentary about Bikram yoga. You ever watch that? Anybody watch that?
Mm-hmm.
Bikram yoga. Dude came to America and brought this amazing yoga that at the beginning they're like, yeah, it fixed me, it helped me, it fixed me, it helped me, it fixed me, it helped me. And they've all admitted that it was amazing for them. And then they say, yeah, but he was touchy-feely with all the girls, so fuck this dude. Well, if you got hundreds of thousands of women coming at you, how strong do you think an individual is going to be? And if he messes up a couple of times, you throw out what he brought? Like, think about that. For whether it's a pastor, anybody, does it help you? Does it add value to your life? Is that person a human? Is that person a human? A lot of you, like, will take one mistake that somebody that you loved in the past made, and you still ain't talking to them because of it. The person lied to you. Person lied to you 7 years ago that you loved, and you ain't talked to him since. Great person. He just had a bad day that day. I remember when, I'll pass it to you. I was at working out 24. This is years ago. I'm still working on myself at the time. I'm still growing myself, and I'm still very rough around the edges in my transition. So, but I had a lot of knowledge and a little bit of wisdom that I was learning, and I was passing it to a young brother at the gym that I was working out around. And he was going through it in life. So we would talk every day. And over the course of a few months, I helped this kid turn his life around. End up getting a good job, great paying job at Kaiser, and like walked him through a lot of shit. I'm human. I'm still suffer from a lot of things. So I'm on the basketball court one day. Not a good day that day. And me and another brother in the gym end up getting into an altercation. And so everybody rushes on the court. They hold us both back and tying us both up to keep us from fighting each other. And he runs up in the middle with these puppy dog eyes like, court. Me still seeing red, I'm like, move the fuck out my way. Like, I'm still trying to. And he proceeded to turn around and like almost put his head down like a little puppy and walked out and didn't speak to me for a year. And when we did talk, I'm like, so after that incident, did you lose your job? Did you lose the good job that you got? No. Did any of the stuff we talked about, did it stop working all of a sudden? No. I said, to you, you may look at me from that particular, but I used to have 7 incidents like this a year. Last year, I only had 1, and that was the one that you saw. So I'm juiced about last year. I'm excited because what I'm doing is working. But I'm human, bro. I'm from the hood like you. You know my stories. But that's what he did, and that's what we do a lot. That's what we do. So learn how to extract the good and just throw away the rest. That's that person's issues, shit that they dealing with. But what they do know, man, thank you, thank you, thank you. Any questions on right there?
Pass the mic. Pass the mic.
Behind you. Oh, you. Sorry, Charlize. You go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
I was thinking about the hero worship, isn't the extreme, I guess, left of this would be how some people can get caught in the hero worship so much that they don't see the flaws of the person they're placing this God complex on. And being, I don't know if you say taken advantage of in that way. I guess you could, religion does it in a certain way where there is this perfection that they are preaching to follow, but within the actions of the people who you follow or believe in, they're not actually pursuing that, but they still carry on a following. They still have strong believers, or they overlook that. And there's some things that might be, case in point, like a Bill Cosby, and how many people just, because of his persona of being this, America's dad, it was hard to believe that he could be that other person. And how long that took for even the Black community to disconnect from, maybe he is kind of rapey or something like that.
Well, what you're saying is cognitive dissonance. Cognitive dissonance says once you decide to lock in on somebody, you're locked, and you'll tell whatever story you need to tell yourself to stay locked. That's cognitive dissonance, and that happens a lot. That's the other extreme, is that I'm willing to overlook everything for the sake of following you. That's just as dangerous. Entrepreneurship is clarity. Entrepreneurship is clarity. No, I see that fuck shit you doing. I'm not rocking with that. Let's talk about this. Teach me this. How'd you do this? You see what I'm saying? We're not going there. That's why there's some topics I don't talk about. There's some students who in the past who came to me and say, hey, Court, I have a problem with X, Y, or Z. You know what? X, Y, and Z is outside my area of expertise because I struggle with X now. And Y, I'm just now figuring it out. So I'm not going to be the one to talk to you about it. But if you want to talk about entrepreneurship, let's do it. So, but yes, the other extreme is that. And some of our parents, and people who've been in religion a long time and won't move, and the pastor done stuff to everybody, and they just will justify behavior. That's how cults are formed, because they're willing to justify behavior of anything in an environment. So,
how does this or I feel like this also affects like individual, how you look at yourself and how you look at your business. Like a lot of times, it's like I'm not perfect at this, or I messed up here, and so it's like I'm questioning, should I continue to do this, or is this for me, etc. So is it, I'm basically, as a comment, maybe more than a question. I see how this affects mentors and then also how you perceive yourself.
Dope. That was beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Thank you. Because that you made me think of a thought. A lot of us won't even get off the ground in entrepreneurship because of a perfection mindset. So because you expect perfection out of everybody else, you look at the flaws in your business or your start or your logo or your recipe, or it is not perfect. You're afraid to put it out because you are afraid you're gonna find another you on the other side. So a lot of you are holding back because you're afraid of the imaginary yous on the other side of it. But the people who are comfortable making mistakes and expect it, they know we're human. You know how funner life can be? Oh, let me try this. Well, what about the haters and this people? It's 8 point something billion people on this planet. Let me find my market. It failed. Oh, all right. Next one. Let's try something else. That didn't work. All right, well, let's learn from that. Try something. You're such a fluid thinker and you're always progressive in your thinking that you don't even think about perfection. You think you're a growth mindset. You're not a perfection mindset. Growth mindset folks know that their masters don't have to be perfect. So if this sinks in deep enough, some of you guys can forgive your parents tonight. You can forgive your dad tonight. You can forgive your mom tonight. They did the best they could do. What if they said, I gave you my best work? I gave you my best work.
Would it sound shitty if you said your best wasn't good enough?
Oh, that's
But that moment when it feels like, I would totally say that because it was bullshit.
Okay, so time out. Thank you. Let's do the math. Let's lay the math out. Nope. Let's stop right here.
Just
Nope.
one.
Let's do the math. Okay, well, say that's true. Let's look at the end product. Let's look at the dope. Look at you, Kaja. Are you a dope person? Let's look at the dope. Are you a dope person? You are.
You are.
So obviously they best was good enough because look at you. Yeah, pat that weave, pat that head, pat that head, pat that head. Now this. Let
She needs some gum though.
Now this is where the pats are coming in. This is why we patting. I love this. This is why we patting. Because perfection mindset says, I wanted you to raise me like this. You should have raised me like this, because this is the picture in my head of how you should have raised me so that I can become like this. And now I'm the dope that I want to be. I'm dope. Now, you may have been raised like this, through the mud, through this, through that, the other. Guess what? Can you 100% say that you would be this dope if you wasn't? You can't, because your different version of you will be here.
Was it Oprah that got raped hella times?
Absolutely. Maya Angelou too. And the road you've taken, no matter how hard, no matter how rough, no matter how raggedy, no matter how traumatizing, if you believe that you are dope and you are performing and you're in a space where you have the world ahead of you, and you look around at your peer group and your age group, Shakina, your age group.
Shakina.
Nope.
No,
I said
Shakina.
your age group. I didn't say your friend group.
Yeah,
I said
group.
your
Shakina.
age group. Your age group, Shakina. You look
Shakina.
around to the left, look around to the right, and be like, damn, I paid a price, but I'm dope.
But I feel like y'all over here talking some puppy dog shit, and it's a room full of wolves. So how the hell we having the same conversation?
No,
Like,
okay. Let me jump in this a little real quick. You're operating from a space of narcissism, and you don't see it. Let me argue. Let me make a point, please. You're thinking about me. But you're not thinking about me clearly. Because if you can give that space for imperfection with your parents, you can give yourself space for imperfection with your parenting, which makes you a better parent. Because when you try to reach perfection, often you're going to fall. You're going to hit a lot of F's. But it's when you can learn how to break, grow, and perfect. Because a lot of times when you try to be perfect, you're too rigid to grow. But when you can give yourself room to be flawed and be okay with it, you actually will grow twice as fast. So it's counterintuitive.
well, so, okay. Y'all know I got hella trauma behind my parents. So I'm going to try to filter that out. But where my brain was going, I was writing hella notes. But, okay. Conscious leadership, right? So deciding to be present. Now, we all got different stories, timelines, and whatnot on where we are able to show up in life, right? But how my brain is processing when I'm deciding to be the higher level of Shekinah and not the petty version of Shekinah, because petty Shekinah is raggedy. My brain goes to the complexities of there's levels to all of this. Like, and if I know better, but I don't do better, what ownership do I have if that fucks up my kid? Not if I see a weakness, and even if I can't show up to that level, what community am I building to backlog or backfill what I can't accomplish? If I don't know something, what is the process that I'm putting in place to help fill those gaps? Because I know I'm a fuck up. I know I'm flawed. I know I don't know everything. But because I know and I accept that, that makes me smarter to be able to build people around me to help when I'm gonna fall short. And so when I'm not saying that we shouldn't forgive or whatnot, because I've done a lot, but it also, it's kind of like if I decided to stop growing right now as a parent to a 13-year-old girl raised in Oakland, and I'm just like, whoa, it's good enough right now, I would be afraid to see what my daughter would turn out with if I didn't continue to grow and change and evolve. But if I say that it's good enough or I did the best I could, I feel like that's a cop-out, because then I'm saying, well, this is my comfort level, and even though I know there's better out there, I'm tired, girl. I did the best I could the first 13 years, and it is what it is. But the whole purpose of being a mother or running a business or anything is to sacrifice your desires and your comfort zone to build something greater. So,
Okay, so I'm gonna address two things, and I'm infringing on Nana's time, so I don't want to go too deep into this. But and we can like this could be part 2 next week, which we'll just put that on the agenda. But two things before we move is it possible to know something and not be able to do it? Do you know things but still can't do it? Do you know what to do but can't bring yourself to do it in certain situations? Every day, all the time, right? So the question is, how the hell do you expect people in previous years who are even closer to Jim Crow, closer to slavery, to be more perfect than we are? The second thing is the fact that you have the clarity and consciousness of mind that you would never abandon your child at 13. Where do you think that comes from? It comes from positive or negative experiences. A lot of clarity that we get in our lives, the good parents that we are, or the present parents we are, comes from the abandonment when we were of our parents. So the thing is, whether or not we like the process, if you're here now and you're in a situation where you're raising your children better, you're raising good kids, you're taking care of yourself, you're being a part of the community and your family, it doesn't mean the way in which they went about it didn't suck, because it did. But know that more than likely they did the absolute best they could, because everything else was a blind spot. Everything else was a blind spot. Sorry,
Can I just real quick? I'm needed to some Nana's time real quick. Let me just say this real quick. Also, you're falsely seeing space and time. You're living one dimensional. 3-dimensional says, you measure your parent against what? Who's to say your parent is not a C or a D to like future parenting, right? Like you're predicting the future as if what you just did is you time traveled in your brain, and you don't realize, no, you just have this moment. Everything else is just assumption. You don't even know what it is. So let's say you get to 8 years from now, but she's watching a parent who's at a higher level C, and she goes, you should have done. That's gonna be your greatest nightmare. But when you can let go now and start accepting that all this parenting we're all doing, this is where that's why I hate the parenting culture, because it makes us think that there's some A in this game. All this parenting we're doing, we're all operating in a C+. All of us. Because there's so much we don't know. There's so much we don't. All of us are guessing. If you want to be a strict, ain't nobody got a goddamn black parenting manual that we all reading going, hey, you didn't read the Bible or the black parenting chapter 7 when it said. No one knows what the fuck that is, right? And so because we're always guessing at that process coming out of oppression, we're in a continuum of change. So to even say, I'm doing a great job, your child will get to say, you should have. And then that person can have a child, and their child can say, you should have. And that's going to be a continuum of this, a cycle. So in order for you to pull yourself out of that cycle and hover above it and become the master of that space, you're going to have to pull your ego out of it, you out of it, and step back and look at it from a macro and engage the micro.
If you spanked your kids at any point, if you spanked your daughter at the beginning and you had an aha moment and was like, I'm going to stop spanking you, she may very well grow up and be like, I'm traumatized because I was spanked as a child. My mom spanked me. We don't get the right to choose whether or not we the great parent or not. Because kids will find a reason to raise the bar for us. They will. Next slide. I'm sorry, y'all. But I love the dialogue. It's dope. So what happens when a student with an ego encounters a teacher that can help him? Pick one. 1, he learns the hard way. 2, learn the long way. 3, you isolate yourself from people that can help you advance faster. 4, cut off resources and relationships that can connect you to your environment. Or 5, all of the above. I think we know the fucking answer. Let's move on.
You can stay there, bro.
Next, you gotta hold somebody's coat. Whose coat are you holding? If you're not holding somebody's coat right now, then you're letting your ego continue to grow and fester. Have somebody that you hold their coat. You know what that means? Let's talk mafia days. The mafia don in New York, there's always a person that will open the door for him, hold his coat. He wasn't the coat holder. He was next in line. There's a picture of Obama holding President Clinton's coat. He's not a coat holder. He's next in line. You want to be next in line? Whose coat you holding? You know how many coats I had to hold? Kanye West had to hold Jay-Z's coat. All the designers that y'all rock was holding big designers' coats. Because there's so much game you absorb and learn by being in the room, by being next to the person, getting the water, holding the coat, doing all the shit. And if you smart, you're not a coat holder, you're next in line. The best strategy for being a successful entrepreneur that there can be is being a coat holder. Frank Lucas was a coat holder. Y'all don't see the secrets, the game I'm giving you. It's cold, it's easy. I told you, North Face founder was my mentor. Y'all think, man, how come I come in rooms, I got a clothing line, there's 1,000 clothing lines. What the hell separates you? You look the same, you act the same, you talk the same. What the hell is the difference? I held the founder of North Face coat for 6 months. He said, come to my office every Friday. I teach you everything you know about building a niche brand. And guess what I did? Did that. Hey, we're having coffee here at Berkeley. Come through. And I would sit there and just listen to the high level conversations. He taught me everything he knew. Then he was like, we done. Here's some bread. Go make it happen. Hold coats. Whose coat are you holding? If you ain't holding nobody's coat, you're getting left. Next slide. We'll talk about this next week. We'll talk about this next week. All right? All right, y'all. Brief intermission.
Test, 1, 2, 3. Society try to turn me down. You can't turn me down with society. Yeah. All right, y'all. Wasn't that a dope class? The ego, I can tell you this personally. In teaching and learning all this scaling, advanced, building knowledge that I've been studying for the last 3 years or 2.5 years. Ego is the gatekeeper. Most advanced strategical thinking cannot be achieved until you gain some control of your ego. You can even learn it and you can't even use it. Ego is this thing that will literally, it's almost like it would fill your brain with so much noise you can't even see it when it's time to use it. When you guys really get this servitude thing down, and you can almost, it will become this thing that will start to audit the way you talk to your customers, how you design systems for your customers, how you sell your products, how you control your branding and everything. So that's very, very powerful. Second thing is, I hope you guys got a chance to listen to that podcast. There's 2 highlights. The podcast is full of so much dope information, but it's framed in a conversation. So it's not like a typical business podcast. He's what do you call him? What's it, Johnny 100? So he owns his own company, and he's a multi-million-dollar company. But what makes it so amazing is when you watch him share a lot of the principles that we talked about in class. But there's 2 highlights that I think before I get started, I wanted to tap into. First highlight is this. Did you notice that how important branding is? So NFTs, he's talking about NFT market, and how all these millions of dollars are going back and forth. Because if you pay attention, he talked about how a t-shirt is still a t-shirt, which is a t-shirt, right? But as he talked about the t-shirt business, he highlighted the t-shirt business is really about his branding. And that branding is what drives the t-shirt business. And then within maybe an hour later in the conversation, he moves over to the point of talking about how NFTs allow people to receive their branding stimulation without causing damage to the environment because they bought this thing that they eventually have to throw away. But human beings have a deep desire for branding, which you can also say human beings have a deep desire for status. A lot of times you will hear people say, I don't think branding is so important. And what they're really saying in a reverse language, I think what I do is important. It's kind of like an egotistical response. What I do is important. The work that goes into it. Like when I drive a car, I need a car to work. That ain't what sells cars. If that's the case, you go with a blew up. If that's the case, that mini car with the 1-seater, woo, that's an ugly ass car. That car would have blew up, right? Every thug be driving Priuses, right? No, that's not how it works. We drive brand. When you go shop for a car, how come you guys didn't buy that Nova? How come you didn't buy that Ford Taurus back in the days? Because you didn't want that brand, right? Why is it that you want, if somebody says, okay, check this out. Here's a Honda Civic, and here's a Benz, say, 300. They're both brand new. I can give them both to you. Which one would you want? Poor Civic, right? It's because we love status and branding. But somehow we want to jump in this business game and ignore branding over and over and over and over and over again. And then you hear that these cats are trading JPEGs for $200 million. A JPEG. Because then I get to say, I collected that brand and that's at my house, or I own this rights to this JPEG. And yet, I've been trying to point out in this class that when you're in business, you fall into a tunnel of efficiency, right? So you focus in, I gotta get this done, I gotta get this done, and then because of tunnel, what you start losing sight of is the customer and what they think about you. And branding is keeping your finger on the pulse of this human emotional thing that's driving our decisions that we don't articulate really, really well. No one says, yo, I need to raise my status and get my branding up. Somebody will give me a Benz, some of this Gucci, Louis Vuitton, right? They may say, hey, I need to go get me a nice car. I think I'm gonna give me a nice Benz. That's soft bragging. Oh, last week I was out and you know me, I only carry Louis Vuitton bags. Branding, but soft bragging. It's status and branding. And yet you come into business and you're like, well, it's about the hard work. It's what I put on the plate. Oh, okay. Really? Matter of fact, what you'll find sometimes is when businesses when they overvalue what they put on the plate, they don't last long as a business. Yes, you got to put quality on a certain level of quality on the plate that's acceptable and there's certain standards to quality. But when you over focus on the quality and you forget about the branding aspect of your business, human beings will go other places. Have you might have been in Bake Sale Betty lately? Ain't no goddamn lines, huh? Did I not call Bake Sale Betty as a badass business 2 or 3 years ago? I told everybody 2 or 3 years ago, Bake Sale Betty has some of the best sandwiches, chicken sandwiches in the game. They have the worst branding in the game. Bake Sale Betty should be all across the nation. She should be so successful that she don't even touch chicken. But what she did was she focused on quality and she got caught into expressing herself, which is efficiency, how I want to express myself, what I want to deliver to them, what I, ego. Huh? No, it's just still there. It's still there. But you can walk straight up to the counter and within like the line, maybe 4 people max. Yeah, everything's still good. I still love her. I think her chicken sandwich smokes. Chick-fil-A, like Chick-fil-A ain't even in the same category. Cane's ain't not in the same category, right? Like all the sandwiches you can think of, like she really makes her slaw is one of the most amazing slaws in the game. The quality of her chicken, she even went back to the larger pieces of chicken. Because remember she shrunk it for a little while. But she doesn't, but the thing is that when something's too passionate, which passion is getting back to his point, your ego gets too large. And when your ego gets too large, you run a business for yourself, not for the customer. Mm-hmm. That's the simplest equation. But the other thing he said, I don't think y'all already caught this shit, but it's fire, which is going to lead me into this class. Cue up my next slide. He said, branding is saying no. That shit was fire. Now, why am I saying that's fire? Let's go back to Court's lessons for the last 2 or 3 weeks. He's been talking about survival mode, scarcity, and how survival mode alters the way you move in business. So at one point, Mr. 100, the brand 100, did a collaboration with Disney. And you guys got to go back and listen to this podcast. 3 hours long. Take your time through the week, but it's worth every second of it. Huh? It's in a growth. If you look at the growth work that they sent out, just click on that. It's right in there. So, and it's about Johnny 100. I think his name was it Johnny? Bobby 100. Bobby 100. So, Bobby did a collaboration with Disney, and Disney's like, they sold out really fast. So, they told Bobby, "Hey man, print some more," and he's like, "No." He said, "But you're going to make a lot of money." He says, No, I don't care about the money. I care about my market positioning. Pretty much, I'm just paraphrasing because he didn't say market positioning, but that's what he's implying. Then did he say, okay, well, that went great. Let's do another one. He goes, no, I'm done. I got to move on. Now, which one of y'all, when you in survivor mode, would have said no? None of you. None of you. Matter of fact, you guys would have tried to use strategy to justify your actions. None of you. Why did he say no? Because he said, I want to be like Levi's or Gucci. I want to be in this game for I'm playing the long game. And if I chase this bag too fast, the fashion business is so cruel, you'll be out the game as fast as you got into the game. So he's talking about how him and Supreme release a certain amount of fashion that runs out all the time. It's new stuff all the time, but it's because they're focusing on becoming a fashion house, not just a t-shirt company that sold a couple of t-shirts. So Court comes along and says, hey, y'all, survival mode is dangerous. Shakina says, well, then we get into transaction. And Shakina says, yo, everybody, help me understand how to not let this transactional behavior, which is being a transactional mode, which is you're just trying to get bags. You're just trying to, tit for tat. That's how you move it. But it's another form of tunneling. This is all tunneling, right? Shakina asked us the dope question last week. Well, how do we get out of that space? Right? And I think one of the points that Court said to her is you have to lower your ego. And I think I contributed to the answer. I can't remember what I said even more right now. Damn, when we get older, just watch what happens. And watch yourself, because if you cap on me, Josiah tell you what happened. Anyway, so the thing is this. So it bothered me when I left here. And I was like, I think I want to get into like some tips on how to reduce the impact of tunneling. When you tunnel, it is not a conscious behavior. That's why you can't catch yourself. I'm using common sense. Common sense don't apply. I'm using rationality. Rationality don't apply. I'm aware of myself. It doesn't apply. You gotta almost have to look at your data and listen to your feedback to see yourself. Because to your conscious mind, everything's all right. Now it's funny because everything's all right if you're judging yourself, but when you think about what you want, everything ain't all right. Think about that again. When you're judging yourself, everything's all right. Don't tell me nothing about I am good. But when I want something, something's not right, Nana. I don't know what it is. I need to change something about myself. That means if I'm in self-judgment mode, don't give me no feedback, Kaja. But when I tell you what I want, tell me how to get it. Is that some cold shit? It's almost like a Heckle and Jekyll relationship we have with ourselves. Depends on who shows up to the conversation. It's based upon what you can say to me. Next slide. So let's get into like some steps. Avoid tunnel vision traps. Let me get to Shabisha, you want to go ahead and start us off?
1, explicitly.
Wait, is her microphone turned up, or turn her microphone up a little bit? Okay, Troy, go ahead. Okay.
Can you hear me better
There you
now?
go. I can hear you now. There you go.
Okay. 1, explicitly consider alternatives.
So I'm going to give you business and I'm going to give you personal to these tips. This is such powerful shit. The next time you hit a friction point or you find yourself being challenged in a right and wrong space, or you're in a space where you have to make a critical decision, 1, explicitly consider alternatives. Go ahead, Shabisha.
You should examine a full range of alternatives using base rates or market-derived guidelines when appropriate to mitigate the influence of the representativeness or availability biases.
So, what if I'm not right? I'm gonna make it really simple for you. Here's the first question you ask yourself. What if I'm not right? How could this other person be right? Let me figure that out. I'm using simple language. Base rate. Here's a base rate. This is how you do base rate. What is everybody else doing in this situation, in this space, that's moving in this rhythm? That's the base. So if I tell you, hey, that's a bad idea. So the other day, Mashama came to me and he gave me a new price sheet. And he gave me the price sheet and I said, he goes, no, I need you to sign off on this new price sheet. And mind you, I'm not on the ground level doing a lot of the everyday work no more. And inflation just, had a huge surge. I don't know what that means to the numbers in our market. So he throws these numbers in front of me, and I was like, yo, and I just woke up. I called him. I said, hey, man, I don't know what the fuck to do with this. He said, I just need you to prove the numbers or not. I said, how am I going to prove it? I said, can you do me a favor? Next to these numbers, put the base rate. What is the base rate? And then I can analyze our value to the market, right? When you argue with somebody, you got to ask yourself, it's not always, okay, let's say I'm arguing with you, Kaja. It's not about what I feel, what you feel in this case. If I had to sit down and go, I got to make a profile for Kaja. Kaja is this African-American woman who happens to be my girlfriend, who happens to be my friend, who happens to be my business partner, happens to be my client, happens to be my customer, whatever it happens to be, right? What do most customers expect in this situation here? What is the common behavior of customers? What does a customer expect from competition in business just like mine? So even when I say I don't do this, is it aligned with the base rate? 2, as a customer explaining their position, put myself in the customer's shoes and say, where are they coming from? Huge. If you remember perspective, when he taught perspectives, like this elephant, and everybody touches the elephant and there's a different part of the elephant that exists, you may be right from your perspective, but you're not right from the customer's perspective. You might be right from your perspective, but you're not right from your partner perspective. You might be right from your perspective, but you're not right from your child perspective. So when you're arguing you're right, you're trying to narrow the perspective of everybody else to support your egotistical need to be right. So your first job to avoid the impact of tunnel vision in all things that you're building is the first thing is when you reach a point of friction, conflict, decision-making. When I say decision, not small decisions. Like small decisions have to fall into your heuristic space. We're talking about decisions that where it's going to cost you some money, you're going to make you some money, or you don't want to deal with that impact. The first thing you want to do is sit down and go, how could they be right? Now your ego, once again, I told you that the gatekeeper to this space is your ego. Your ego will be like, man, what do you mean what the fuck they going to be right? I'm always right. Nope. So let me help you. For those when you first start, you probably can't do it in the moment. The more you practice, you can do it like faster. But when you first start, process your anger, go and grit your teeth, call them all kind of MFs and ain't shit. Tell them, fuck, I don't need none of these people. Fuck, I'm never gonna call that person again. That client can never come to the motherfucking doors. No, they live. Go some motherfucking place. I don't need this shit. Say that to yourself. Even call your business partner. But when you calm the fuck down, go, how could they have been right? This is part of your major growth. Next one.
Seek dissent. It's much easier said than done. The idea is to prove your views wrong.
So now, prove yourself. So down and sit in their shoes and try to figure where they're right. This is how you beat tunneling. This is the question Shakina asked last week. The next one, this is transactional. This is all this stuff. Much easier said than done. The idea is to prove yourself wrong. Prove yourself wrong. How can you be wrong? And fight for it. Like you're a lawyer against yourself. Pull your case together, pull your evidence, your insights, your research, your deep thinking, process it, change the scenario. Well, if this was this, I could possibly be wrong in this situation. Let me tell you how much power this is going to give you. Go to the next slide real quick, because the next line, this next paragraph is part of the previous slide. Keep going.
Keep track of previous decisions.
No.
Oh, wait, sorry.
Excuse me. Oh, Lord Jesus.
Hold on. Sorry, my bad.
Say when possible.
Here we go. When possible, surround yourself with people who have dissenting views.
Ooh, stop. I thought it was E40 in me. Yeah, I know. It came out, so I was like, ooh, that is like E40. You in the Bay Area, you pick up Bay Area shit. So when possible, surround yourself with people who have dissenting views. Don't surround yourself with people who have similar views. Mashama, very, very deep brother. We don't share a lot of views. He will challenge me. Mashama can agree with me when I call him, but he's going to go into dissenting role. Also, same thing with Court. If I call Court like, this is what I feel, Court has two responses. He doesn't say like, yeah, man, well, do what the hell you got to do, bro, because I get it. Yeah. He might even give me that space. Now, sometimes we'll hold that space for each other for a second. Yeah, man, I see what you're going to do, man. I would have stopped with a T-shirt my damn self, right? But then about 5 minutes later, you go, but what if you were wrong, bro? Just think about how you could be wrong. Which then helps him develop what? Strategy, perspectives, growth, leadership. That all comes from that space. But if we just cheerleading, I could cheerlead you right to hell. Straight up.
Give me an H.
Hey, I have a. He's gonna give me an H. Right? And so the reality is that also, here's another thing too. When you want to grow, be around people who challenges your comfort zone. Your comfort zone is your limitation. Nothing grows in the comfort zone. Nothing grows in the comfort zone. Y'all run around seeking comfort as if comfort is a benefit. Comfort is what you do as a break, not a full-time occupation. No one says, what do you do for a living? I take lunch. Maybe just Saudi, but everybody else don't. But the reality is that you cannot take lunch to your success. Right? You have to be around people. Look, so I'm training with Kev again, right? And I forgot the value of that training experience. Because Kev and my son Diallo, they both train with me, and they want to move super fast. And you know me, I like to lift a little heavy. But I got to still lift heavy and move super fast. I'm working on my workout. God damn. Because they're making me uncomfortable. Now, the worst workout partner in the world who slows you down, makes everything too comfortable. You know, I might be a little too heavy for you. You know, don't go so deep on that push up. You know what? Tell you what, do 3, rest for a minute, do 3 more. And then when you look at the body you wanted to achieve, somehow you're going in the wrong direction. Comfort will have you going in the wrong direction. But if you think, here's the thing with comfort. Once again, the ego is the trap door. But if you believe you're making progress, you start going, leave the gym every day telling your friends, you know, this week I worked out so motherfucking hard. I had a good workout with my comfortable ass partners. The only sad part, 6 months from now, people start thinking, well, maybe you gotta work on your diet because it's not working. The reality is that if you want to grow, people around you got to some of the people around you got to make you uncomfortable. When I hung around a lot of my successful friends and I go hang out with my mentor, there's things he does that make me uncomfortable, but they're driven towards these principles that I haven't arrived at yet. So hanging around people that just, make me feel good. We all can dance the same. We dress the same. We're in the same herd. Okay, you're not playing that game. I think I was talking to Shakina the other day and I said to Shakina, you're never going to be normal again. Once you decide to be an entrepreneur, you're not playing a normal game. You're playing the abnormal game. That's what everybody ain't leaders. Leaders are the 20%. If you play the 20% game, you don't get to do like everybody does. I'm sorry. So when John Morant, with this John Morant and thinking, I hear people say, oh, well, he didn't break the law. John Morant ain't you. Yeah, you don't break the law. Cool, I got it. Whatever, baby. But when you're branding a company, you got to think about, well, I have a different level of responsibility. Well, you say, what do you mean? Remember I talked to you guys about the individual rationalization is a limitation from last week? That in order, in the map is not the terrain. What you feel in your rationalization often can't see the actual terrain that you have to, you don't see the big picture. And a lot of times if everybody gets what they want, it destroys everybody. What if everybody decided to show guns like that in the NBA, or a large portion of the NBA start? Are you comfortable with their brand? Right? Because once you say it's okay with one, I can't control number 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's now mind you, by the way, I'm in China and that's a bigger market. Fuck what y'all heard. You look, at the end of the day, I got to marry American market, China market, and if if Russia somehow stop fighting and start to watch NBA, I got to focus on them too. Okay, stop. You always gotta say something Jewish, huh? You just always gotta say something. So what is this? Jewish woke. Anyway, what is this? So, what I'm saying is that this game about growth is being uncomfortable. And that means you got to find people that put you in an uncomfortable space to benefit from your personal growth. If everybody around you is just having a cheerleader-based dialogue like you see at the barbershop, like, yeah, I heard that. I agree. Boy, you smart. Oh, my God. I can't believe what you said. You're going backwards. You're in the comfort zone. Finish reading that sentence.
This is emotionally and intellectually very difficult, but it's highly effective in exposing alternatives.
So when you're around people who are moving in different rhythms and aggressive levels and challenge you, they're giving you alternatives. You know what alternatives is? It's called optionality. It's called strategy. The reason some of y'all can't, when I say optionality, I'll be thinking, optionality, I only got A and B. What the fuck else is left? All the way to Z? The reason you can't develop optionality, because you narrow your life experiences. You're around all this comfortable space, all these comfortable choices, and so all you have is 1 and 2 choices. And if your ego's big enough, all you have is one choice. But once again, the way to domesticate randomness and uncertainty is optionality. But you can't access optionality if ego blocks the process because it's all about what you feel. Is this some cold shit? I want you to understand how ego is the gate. When you suffer from you're not good enough and they constantly call you a minority and people of color, it is actually adding fuel to the fire of your ego. Because that's how you're combating somebody telling you you're not good enough. But then when it's time to build, the same ego that protects you from being devalued by the language and the branding of white supremacy, that same fucking ego is stopping you from building anything. Is that some cold shit? Let's keep going. Come on. So it says, it's alternative. It also reduces the risk of group thinking. There's 3 types of thinking, people. Listen here. This is very important. Write this down. 3 types of thinking. There's group thinking, moral thinking, and mental model thinking. Moral thinking is when you look at the life through right, wrong, good, and bad. It's kind of like a binary way of looking at life, right? Group thinking is very obvious, which is, well, y'all doing this? Well, I guess I'm doing this. Some of y'all are struggling with that, trying to become entrepreneurs, but you're really anchored in group thinking. And mental models is learning principles that are invisible to your eyes that sometimes goes against your rationalization, but it's just how the world works.
What was the first one?
The first one was group thinking. Second was moral thinking.
Got you.
And third one was mental models. So in this class, we're trying to introduce you to mental model thinking. And what helps you reduces the risk of group thinking. Group thinking is when you feel that you're right, you believe you're right because this is what everybody's doing. I know this is right. You have to get used to that discomfort of, 1, being in environments that shows you a different perspective from your own. 2, this is where we are so far. 1, you get in the shoes of the people around you and say, how could they be right? Right? And also in addition to that, what's the base? What's the base behavior? Number 2, how can I be wrong? 3, surround yourself with people who show you different alternatives. Let's go to number 3.
Keep track of previous decisions.
Mm-hmm.
We humans have an odd tendency. Once an event has passed, we believe we knew more about the outcome beforehand than we really did.
Okay, this is an egotistical case once again. Earl, your hair looks really nice, boy. You get a nice haircut. Wait, what is this? So let me just go into this one more time. Let's just go. I want y'all to examine this point. This third one is powerful as fuck. Let's say Shakina says, let's take a ride to my gym. I say, for sure. A little nervous because, she's a workout queen. I get in the car and I decide I want to go through 580 instead of Highway 24. She said, no, you should go to Highway 24. I said, no, I'm gonna take 580. But she's thinking, I usually go through 24. I'm gonna go that way. This is what the brain, but I'm sure how the brain plays a trick on you. So we get on 580 and it is stuck traffic. Traffic ain't moving. She said, I knew we should have went this way. No, you didn't. No, because if you knew it, you would say, hey, Nana, quickly. Hey, traffic stuck, hit 24. Look, Nana, look, I'm pulling up Google. See? You will, and so what happens is you think your hunch, you think the hindsight of analyzing it is your foresight skills. You think your ability to read the moment is your ability to predict. You think your ability to analyze what just happened is strategical thinking moving forward. So you're confusing backwards thinking for forward thinking because they feel like the same thing. It's like some cold shit. So keep track of your previous decisions. So when you make a decision about something, focus on what was your foresight decision, not your hindsight decision. Because your brain will convince you your hindsight decision is your foresight decision. Yeah, I knew I shouldn't do business with this person. I analyzed this and the other, and then you do it again. And then people watch you like, so people will hear you give that long speech about what you knew was stupid, or you may analyze Kaja and look at what she did and think because you analyze what she did, you have knowledge of what's right. But when you're faced with the same situation, you make the same fucking mistake. And why is that? Because you confuse foresight for hindsight. So you have to start really, whether it's taking notes or taking mental record of what was the decision I made up to that moment, and be honest with yourself. Now, why is that difficult? Because your ego wants to think that you're A+ and perfect, and you have to see your DNFs. Give the microphone to, I got one right here. Yeah, I just brought an extra one just in case. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Mike Sadi for today, you understand me?
Yeah.
So, man, that just smacked me. So you know how we talk a lot, right? And we talk about how I struggle with, like, I'm really good at postmortems, but I'm really bad with
Premortem.
Yeah. And so when you said that, my brain went into the space of, can you accurately do that if you are not good with causation?
That's how you develop. Actually, that's the muscle to grow causation. When you first start, you're gonna suck, but as you start to, so with your staff, let's just use it for business and not get back to personal. You guys should have postmortems, which says, hey, what did we do wrong? But you also should, at the beginning of projects, have premortems. What could go wrong? And that's when you start to see the gaps. When a premortem sounds like 3 things and a postmortem sounds like 100 things, you realize, oh, we got gaps, huge gaps, right? Then that means that's going to make you more, it's going to adjust your attention span. Because reason we're good at postmortems and we're horrible at premortem, because we're so moving in the moment to the space of system one and just being impulsive and responding and reacting and getting the job done. We're poor at analyzing our behavior. And we're also, when we're trying to prove ourselves, we're blinding ourselves to our own behavior. When we have trauma spaces that I don't want to see about myself, I'm also ignoring certain portions of my behavior, right? So in postmortem, you have this ability to be like, because you took the failure helped you. Now watch this, I'm sure you something's fucked up. So the failure helped you and you go, oh, my damn trauma, fuck. And there goes that pattern again with me, shit. And I should have known that, which is, you shouldn't have known it, but shit. Now, let's say you were successful. This is what'll fuck you up. You performed the worst postmortem in the world. I knew I was right. It worked, shit, I was brilliant. Oh my God. Now that you could have did anything better. There's no reason to reevaluate this because you know what? I'm on fire, right? No. Wins and losses require premortem and postmortem. And what you're going to find out is that some things you don't know and you're just gambling. Some things you're just playing probability. Some things are really just luck. But you can lie to yourself so fast because in the end, you're really trying to make yourself feel better about yourself. Go ahead.
I don't know if I asked my question the right way, so I want to try to reshoot it.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry. So what I was attempting to try to dig deeper into, and Barry, is when you said number 3 was keep track of your previous decisions.
Mm-hmm.
And when I had posed the question of the ability to track means that you can identify where you went wrong, right? But if you don't understand causations and you're looking at an isolated incident, but you don't realize that 10 decisions ago is why this decision backfired, that's kind of more so.
Yeah, but you're growing to that. What I'm saying is that when you analyze, okay, so for example, an entrepreneur called me, this brother named Desmond called me on the phone. He's an entrepreneur. And we started having an entrepreneur dialogue out the gate. And he apologized. He's like, yo, I didn't really call you for all this. And I'm like, I'm glad you didn't call me about fucking LeBron. Fuck else you don't call me about, right? I'm a business person. This is what I do. I have to analyze. When I talk to people, when I talk to Court or Mashama, I'm often having these conversations about pre-mortem and post-mortem because I'm growing my insights and I'm growing self-awareness. I'm growing environment, contextual awareness. And then even when I gain awareness, I'm looking at where is my mental models incomplete, flawed, or what is it I don't see correctly? So I'm not only looking at the problem, but I'm also looking at how am I thinking about the problem, right? So I'm going multiple dimensions at all times because you guys don't have jobs, man. You guys don't go to work every day. You're the fucking leaders. I was talking to my boy the other day. I was like, yo, man, listen, he's like, I want to grow my business. I want to do these things, this, and the other. And I said, well, at some point you got to start taking pictures. He said, what? I said, imagine building a perfect boat. I mean, the perfect boat. You can sail from any place in the world. And you finish building the boat, right? And you get ready to take off, but nobody know where the fuck you're going. Have you tried to find somebody in the middle of the ocean? Like if you fill out your boat and somebody had to come find you, the chances of them finding you is very close to like really low because the ocean covers most of this earth. So like you saying to somebody, hey, I ain't got no GPS, but I'm right here and I'm somewhere in Europe, but I'm right here. Come to me right now. People are like, fuck, I don't fucking shit. Right? When you're the captain of your ship, not only do you have to figure out where you're going, but you got to also figure out where you don't want to go. And if somebody's also, you got to work on the relationship. So when I get there, are we going to get what we're trying to achieve so we can keep going to the next place? But some of y'all want to be in this ship game, but you just want to pride yourself on how well you row the boat. There's no value to me in this class as an entrepreneur. You got to think so many layers about yourself without making it. When you work out really, really hard, right? Like if Javon, no, not Javon, Javon is okay. If Jasadi worked out with you, right? Jasadi, I mean, we might have to get a pacemaker, whatever it requires to keep Jasadi alive, right? And let's say Jasadi's training with you. He may think that's very, very laborsome because he's not used to it. But let's Jasadi say he stayed there about a year. All of a sudden, Jasadi may have he might cut his hair even because it might be a lot for him. But the point is this. Let's say he stays with you for about a year. He can work out with you now and he can enjoy the process. When I'm talking about this level of self-awareness, self-analysis, it may seem laborsome to your mind because you're just now hearing it. Like if Shakita called out a workout for everybody in this room, y'all be like, I'm not showing to the gym tomorrow. It's too much. But if you start off slowly and you give yourself patience and you start growing the process and you realize that life is about imperfections, after a while, that's your standard. So I'm stating my standard because that's the level I got to practice at, right? But for her, like somebody who's not at that standard, might be like, that's a lot. So I'm always sitting down with Michelle. I'm like, hey, let's look at what happened. Or when the project's over, I'm like, hey, let me get a rundown of everything that happened in this project, every detail. Okay, what did the customer say back to us? Okay, where's some imperfections? Where can we work on some stuff? And then even, I'm always looking at, well, how can we even be better? Meaning everybody say we did an amazing job. How can we be better? What is it that we're not showing up to right? And then I discovered within the last year, we're too entitled. We still move like artists. Artists was like, I'm the best, and you should want to see my art. I'm like, guys, suck with this shit. But the entitlement started affecting so many different areas of our business. It even affected our internal communication. So it allowed me to fix those things. How did I discover that? Is because I'm always asking those same questions about my business. I'm asking those same questions about me. As a parent, I'm always asking those goddamn questions. In relationships, I'm always asking those same goddamn questions. I'm always in a space, how can I be better? How can I grow? When I made this decision, what led up to that decision? Was it really just a hunch? Or was it, I really had a strategy? Could I teach this idea to you? Or could I just say, what I just did was this? That's a whole different way of processing. So the reason you want to keep track, because now if you taught in this class, remember we talked about you teaching the class? And I said, no. You have to prepare for any question that may be thrown your way. Because that's that level of thought and deepness of analysis that you have to go through in so many of your decision making where you're like, well, what about this? But what if this had happened? What would you do for this? Like having those variations. And so one of the ways you can do it in business is you have pre-meetings called pre-boardroom, where you sit down with your staff, you say, hey, let's think about all the things that can go wrong and what will be our options, right? That makes you a robust strategist. And then when you do postmortem, all of a sudden you start seeing how you can grow in both of those areas, which helps you grow with yourself. Okay, next one.
So,
This is still part of 3. So this is the first part. So start with so.
So we generally fail to consider enough alternatives looking forward and think we knew what was going on looking backward.
Mm-hmm.
The antidote to both is to write down the rationale behind decisions and to consistently revisit past actions.
Mm-hmm.
A decision-making journal is a cheap and easy routine to offset hindsight bias and encourage a fuller view of possibilities.
So I'm saying, so the journal helps you grow. You're not going to just become that person. And I would say not all small decisions, like I decided to go with Kleenex over some other generic tissue. Like, really, you wrote that down? I'm talking about major decisions you're making. Major decisions, whether it's why you chose this person to hire this person. You may discover, I don't really know how to hire a person. But in hindsight, if it goes right, you think, oh yeah, I know all about it. Man, I'm good at hiring. I hired 12, 13 people. They're all working out great. But then when you hire 100 people and your record is 20% and 80% suck, it's too late to find out, oh, I sucked. Because you thought the hindsight of looking at how well they did is a result of how good you are. This will help you even in this, because remember, we remove tunnel vision. You're producing products in your company. So I have an artist right now, and he sent me his music. Now this dude is a celebrity chef. I'm not a real celebrity, not a fake celebrity chef. Like he's international, national. He's at the level where he writes recipes and he gets paid residual on just a recipe he designed for your restaurant. He doesn't even cook food no more. He's at that point, right? His knowledge is he's been on television numerous times. He's that dude. So he sends me some music of his. He's like, yo, no, I just released this. I just did this new song. I'm going to go see him on Friday. Tell me what you think. I'm going to tell him. And the first thing I'm going to say to him is, hey, you wrote this music. Who helped you produce this song? Who's in your camp? Who's writing your music? And I'm sure you're going to say, well, no, I produced it myself. I'm going to say, it sounds like it. And what do you mean by that? Because you need feedback to reach another level. And when you get into your own thing, you might be stuck in the 90s, 2000s, 2010s, 220s, whatever you're stuck in. You might be stuck in your cultural expression. You might be stuck in East Oakland, right? And in the end, you will look at hindsight type experiences to judge your actual strategical skills. Let's say you had, okay, so go back to that, remember that example of the playing spades, and that playing blackjack. And if you get 18, you say, hit me, you made 21. You are convinced by hindsight, because you wasn't paying attention to your analysis, you convinced, yo, I know how to play blackjack. But if somebody's paying attention to how because you won, you look at your win and use your win to measure your skills. But if you're looking at how you make decisions, you realize that even when you right, you could be wrong, and even when you're wrong, you could be right. This is why you have to have that upfront analysis separated from the outcomes. Process has to be removed from the outcome. It has to be. Otherwise, you'll be doing a whole bunch of wrong shit, but you think it's great because you're just measuring the results, but you're not playing the long game, which is 10 years from now, you fail. You poor as fuck. And you still hold on to those ideas because they, at one point in your life, they won. Go ahead, Kaja. Give him Kaja. Oh, she could have had it in her back pocket. She ain't playing with y'all. Y'all rookies at this game. Go ahead.
You just said something that stood out to me. You said using your wins to determine your skills. When I had my events to date, I didn't do it the first one, but in the subsequent events, I started to send out feedback surveys where people could give feedback, right? Freehand, and then some things where they were like pre-selected choices for them to make. And there was feedback, but there were no negative. To this point, there were no negative responses, right? And I had that same feeling. I might not have realized because nobody was pointing out significant things to me that they felt went wrong or that they felt were not good. So in thinking, what could I have done better? I wasn't 100% sure about what I was coming up with, but I knew there were things I could have done better. But it was almost like you don't know the wall until you hit the wall. So it was that feeling of a failure's coming because I didn't want to mistake wins for skill. You just so happen to not get a complainer in the group, or you just so happen to maybe tick
Emotional contagion, yeah.
Right. But how do you not do that?
So let me ask you a quick question. Let me ask you a question. If you came to me in court and we analyzed everything that happened tonight, are you comfortable you would get all good feedback?
No.
That's it right there. You just saw the blind spot. I just revealed the wall to you, and then I can close it back to you. So your brain was going around that wall, going over the wall, under the wall, right? But the reality is that if you came to us, which if your shit's solid, you can, because remember I said go back a couple of slides. It says surround yourself around people who have alternative views. And all we are is alternative views, right? And we coming from a space that we're gonna measure some things that once you go through thinking through our brain, like you went through our shoe, you put yourself in my shoes. You saw a little different. Now you see something like, I don't know, right? But if you're in the shoes that you're in and around the people who kind of surround you that support your comfort zone, you can't see it. You just can't. And your brain will, it has nothing to do with your education. You could have all the PhD, you could be teaching at Harvard right now. It's the way the brain will almost play a magic trick on you. And it has nothing to do with how many degrees you have. And what happened is your brain will start to say, it attached to those who said, oh, that was nice, that was cool. I mean, you could have did a couple things different, but that was cool, right? And where, like when I'm working on certain things, I'm going through my harshest partner's eyes to look at myself and going, that has to improve. And when Mashama's speaking, I analyze him and I demand that he analyze me if we're in a meeting together. And I'm gonna go to him and say, hey man, did you sense anything? Right? And because the way we are as business partners, we're going to say, yeah, you should have worked on this. And if anybody's been on my staff, they see me and Mashama sometimes do it in front of them. I'll be like, Mashama, that wasn't cool. You should have did it this way. Right? And Mashama and I, after the discussion, you'll see us go like this for a minute. And then as soon as the meeting's over, we're back to like best friends, brothers. Because we just gave each other a gift. Right? But that's not common in a non-business world. That's almost stated as opposition and friction. But in the business world, that's a gift because it's so easy for you to tunnel. That's the key word. And tunnel happens on subconscious level. If you get anchored or primed, I can tell you I'm about to anchor and prime you. This is a little trick I used to do in business. I would send somebody face I'm negotiating with and say, look, I'm about to anchor you and make you pay me more money. You know why I know they couldn't stop me? Because anchoring has nothing to do with your conscious mind. You'd be like, no, you ain't gonna do me like that. But once I hit you, subconsciously you can't, if you're not weaponized and know how to hear the subconscious mind and respond to the subconscious mind by kind of having this separate way of looking at yourself, you're gonna fall victim to it. And how many times people are taking money from them, they were like, you got me, didn't you? I'm like, yeah, and I told you I was gonna get you, and there's nothing you can do. I used to do it just to be I was being stupid. But I was just being silly, like just because it's like a magic trick to show people that the power of priming and anchoring. And so the reality is that if you get anchored into a number, a feeling, an emotion, an idea, I'm hangry, I'm hungry, angry. I'm feeling scared and lonely, so I feel like I'm feeling threatened as a human being. All these things that happen to your subconscious mind that starts to leak into your conscious mind and create this false reasoning. If you can't see through other eyes of people who have critical thought, and you only look through eyes of people who are your cheerleaders, you're fucking yourself. Go ahead.
This is kind of a two-part question to your part. When I do how do you, in events when say you have a good following that are your friends, and so most likely the surveys are being conducted by people who know you well. How do you, not saying that they don't have the well intentions, but how do you, I guess you want to decipher who's, the people who don't know you probably are giving you more of the light, non-biased truth than the people who do know you. So when you have events like that, I guess, or specifically, or is that something she needs to broaden her market?
So I don't want to demonize those who support you, right? Because they have a different purpose for you. They're not valueless. They have a different value for you, right? What I want to understand is that you got to go find people who offer dissension. But then going back to what we talked about with court earlier in class about feedback, you got to know how to process feedback properly because you keep killing them off. Every time you get that valuable person that shows up, they will give you that. Let's say I show up, right, and I got to argue with you. I'm not staying there again. I'm not going to do it again. It's like if I give you this gift and you treat it like it's that fruitcake from your grandmother, I'm done. I'm not doing it again, right? At some point, for me to invest in you, I got to feel like I gave you a gift and then you turned it into gold. I gave you another gift, turned it to gold. Now it's alignment with my gift. So now these people seek you out to show up to you. The way you ward them off is your response to feedback. So some of y'all can go harsh, which is, nah, you wrong, because I did this. That's the harsh. Let me tell you the soft way, the soft bug spray. But that's all it takes. I don't want to labor to help you out. And you can't, when somebody gives you advice, you cannot look within your database of knowledge and says if it doesn't fit, it must not be true. Because if your database was all it took, you wouldn't need yourself.
Exactly.
You would need nobody on the outside. It's like what you're trying to do is you're trying to be the all in all God-made perfect system that knows all things, all awareness, can see all perspectives, and you know what, Nana, you tripping. No, you can't. Nana can't do that. As much me skills as I practice, I still realize I gotta put certain people in my life I have to go to, and I have different quality people I go to for different kind of advice based upon, like, I have some people that I'm like, okay, they're really good at this, they're really good at this, they're really good at that, they're really good at this, right? Because none of my leads are perfect. But where they're good at, I want to go to them, and then when I throw the idea for that, I don't go there to get a pat on the back. The pat on the back is my bank account. When my bank account goes up, I feel like, man, I got a back massage in a little hut somewhere I can't tell y'all. You understand me? But the reality is that I don't expect that from them. I expect critical analysis, tearing down, give me options. Options. So knowing how to bring once again, the ego's the gate door. Bringing the ego down enough to let that kind of conversation come through. So so let's say, watch this. Let's play the long picture. Let's say you come to me and I come to your event and you say, no, when you get here, I need you to just perform a deep analysis for me. So everybody applauds you. Oh my God, girl, you all that. Oh my God, right? And then I had to pat my hair one more time for those times' sake, right? And so then at the end of the conversation, I come in and be like, yo, this sucks. That wasn't strong. This is going to kill you in the end. Blah, 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 blah. Now, I got to admit, is this the first time you hear me? Like I said earlier, I'm going to tell my friend his stuff sucks. He's going to be like, ouch, right? But what happens when after a while, I got nothing to say to you? You think about that?
Yeah, it's worse.
That means, oh no, I'm saying like you've grown past me because you got used to the feedback, you got used to respond. I mean, I'm not saying like I'm not repeating that conversation again. Mashama has this rule that says if we're still having the same conversation we had last year, today, we have failed. You should be, at this point, I should not have talked to you about the shit I talked to you about last year. Because once I gave you that feedback, it's your responsibility to go work on that shit, right? So as I'm taking all that feedback, guess who's growing from that, right? I'm learning to have a little bit of Court in my brain, a little bit of Mashama in my brain, a little bit of Shabisha in my brain. I'm getting all these people in my brain that's making me a better version than Nana could ever be. Where's the other microphone, Shakina? Oh, shit. Hey, she did fall in her back pocket earlier. That was the funniest ever. Go ahead.
To your point about but and like defensiveness and confrontation. So I don't want to make an overgeneralized assumption. But I'm going to anyway.
Knew that.
You know, but I know that I'm doing this, right? So it's on purpose. I am going to assume that a large majority of people that are transitioning from jobs into entrepreneurship have a gap in between proper ways of communicating, growing, and how to get things done because it's a different thought process. Again, big assumption. I know that. But let's just say that that assumption is true, that there's a big difference between the two. As people are working on making that transition, which all change and transitions takes time and failure, and they're primed to be the but person, what are the other alternatives to being able to receive feedback and develop a healthy dialogue about opposing sides and different ways of viewing things without becoming the friction that stops?
What do you have in mind? What do you think the alternatives are?
I feel like I'm going to just be imposing my thoughts, and I.
But that's important. I think your thoughts are important.
I wanted you to answer the question. Okay. I'm just the person with the good questions, okay? Mm-hmm. No. I really wasn't prepared for you to flip it back on me. But I guess I would say curiosity, like trying to be curious and flipping over stones of like, what are all of the options? And then tried and true, knocked over the head a billion times with our conversations intention, like being able to see what is the intention of the other parties, like look down the road, look at past history to see what is this person showed me to be their line of action. But also too, I openly, admittedly don't have a lot of answers, which was the motivation to this question, because I definitely leaned on the but side, and I feel like I'm transitioning into trying to see things from an optional space. And I'm asking the question because I'm sure if I have a question, there's other people that might have the same thing.
So let me ask you a question. If you were in Pastor Chris' house, we all know it's Pastor Chris, and say you just left Corey, y'all, man, fuck all that. I don't give a damn shit. When you walked to Pastor Chris' house, would you hear yourself? Anybody? I know I would. Anybody else?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, if you walk to a child care, would you catch your profanity?
Yes.
Profanity is you, though, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when you use but, could you make but get the same type of timing? And then it doesn't mean that you don't slap your hand. Go, but you know what? That's me again. Go ahead. That's me trying to shift it. Just call it out. Call it out. The same attention you put towards, I'm not going to curse inside this child care, right? I'm not going to curse at Pastor Chris' house. You hear the word. It doesn't mean the feeling is real. Just when you curse is real. I don't know about y'all. When I say I don't give a fuck, that really comes from somewhere. right? So it goes deep down in my spirit. But I can return it to a joke society. I really could go there. But anyway, what is this? And so, but as soon as you hear that but, because that's what I did. When I would hear myself with traditional answers I'm known to give, I intermediately would call myself out in front of you to bring myself back. Because if I don't call myself out in front of you, even if you do it 7 times in the conversation, I call myself out 7 times in the conversation. And eventually it gets down to 5, and gets down to 3, gets down to 2, gets down to 1. What is not acceptable is 7 years from now, I'm still at 10. And then think that I could just keep using I'm gonna call myself out, but I'm just saying I don't give a fuck. And I don't mean to say that, but I don't give a fuck. Anyway, you can't keep apologizing and just keep meaning to say it. You gotta, at some point, right. You're using the technique to increase your awareness to eventually you can even reframe the emotion, not suppress the emotion. Reframe the emotion to now it's an act of value. And realize that when you give me feedback, you're not giving me directives. Some of y'all act like I done told y'all what to do. All feedback are just optionality that you still got to choose yourself. I'm not going to be there holding your hand, helping you make like if I say you should do A, B, C, D, E, F, G, I'm not going to hold your hand and odd A, B, C, D, E, F, G. You got to be the master of that call. But when I give you feedback, it's just optionality. Now, and sometimes it can be alternatives. I mean, it can be ultimatum. If you go through that door again and they shoot, you're going to get your ass killed. But at some point, you got to sit there and go, could they be right? Where they coming from? What's their intent? Another thing too, if you at a concert, somebody steps on your shoes, do you hit them in the jaw? If they dancing? If you do, you need to work on your emotions. Right? Why don't you hit somebody on the jaw? Now, if you're at a bus stop by yourself, there's no one around, and someone comes across the street and they go, oh, your motherfucking brand new Jordans. It's a chance you can hit them, right? It's a chance. I'm just being real. It's a chance. I know Josiah would, right? That's one thing. If Josiah drops a sandwich, they dead, right? But point is this, right? So the reality is, I'm coming for you, brother. You ain't gonna get me before this class started. So anyway, so my point is this, and that's what happens when you have a microphone. And if you try to turn me down, I swear. But the point is this. So my point is that intention is what you need to measure. If I'm coming to you and I'm not trying to hurt you or destroy you, and you'll know the difference. You know the difference when I'm trying to hurt you. Everybody know the difference. As opposed to trying to help. Even if my help, okay, your leaders will not be perfect. This man's giving y'all so much game, I promise you. The more I learn, the more I realize how much game there is in the beginning of this class. Mm-hmm. Your leader can give you improper advice. You're playing the probability progression game. If I gave you 97% of the advice I gave you worked, that means 50%, almost 48% of the times I was wrong. That means when I'm wrong, you guys just let it roll off the shoulder and keep moving and go test. Because sometimes when I give you advice, okay, in business, you need an inside brain and an outside brain. Let me say this again. Okay. It's inside brain, outside brain. Inside brain is somebody that looks at all the information we have on the inside and go, oh, we're going to win. We're about to blow this shit up. I think Court talked about this other day. When his team like, oh, this is about to be the hottest shit out there, he'd be like, that means nothing to me. I need information from the outside brain. When you go to the mentor, they're the outside brain. So sometimes from the outside brain, they're going to give you a different perspective, but they're going to be wrong sometimes because they're on the outside. So you got to be able to tolerate when they're wrong. Because you're playing the long game, which is, if we're playing basketball and I have a superstar on my team, he ain't going to make 100% of his shots. But I need him to just hit that 30 to 40 for us to win the championship. But some of y'all are such perfectionists, y'all cutting the best players because you're trying to find a person that doesn't exist.
Mm-hmm. 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 Yep.
Did we finish that number one? To end those to both is the right. Oh yeah, we did that. Okay. Okay, so go number 4.
Avoid making decisions while at emotional extremes.
Oh wait. Y'all might black people. I wish a motherfucker would read this one again.
Avoid making decisions while at emotional
Don't make
extremes.
me. Read that again.
Avoid making decisions while at emotional extremes.
Man, somebody about to get fucked up in this room. Read it last time.
Avoid making decisions while at emotional
lied.
extremes.
I love him. Read it one more time.
Avoid making decisions while at emotional extremes.
All my life, Nana. Read it one more time.
Avoid making decisions
Let me try this one
while
time.
at emotional
You know, no one ever believed in me, Nana. No one ever believed in me, and I'm here. One more time.
Avoid making decisions while at emotional extremes.
Ooh, it feels so good.
One more time.
I'm gonna hit one more. From on the screen. One more time.
Avoid making decisions while at emotional extremes.
White people. I'm giving y'all so much game right now. Some of you, that's why. What? One more time.
Avoid making decisions while at emotional extremes.
Social justice. I gotta give Latinx and social justice. I'm saying that for a reason because I'm trying to explain to you that this is one of the reasons that I try to protect my emotional space, is to protect my decision-making spaces. If my emotional spaces continue to get out of control, my decisions get out of control. And when my decisions get out of control, you know what gets out of control? My bank account gets out of control.
True.
It's all connected. Read it. Go ahead and read that point.
Making decisions under ideal conditions is tough enough.
So in order to make decisions, it is tough as fuck already to make a decision and tough because a lot of times when you have to make some of the biggest decisions, they are emotional. Buying a new house, have you ever made an investment over $100,000? It's emotional because you're gambling. All investments are a form of gambling. You're playing the odds game. Well, if you have to leave your money in the stock game for you're playing the long-term game, and you hear emotionally, you hear the dips. You know how hard that is to not pull your money out? Or you hear the wins, and you know how hard it is to not invest? Man, I just made all this money off Bitcoins. You need to get with this. Man, I got a cousin, they blew up on Herbalife. I know somebody, and I know somebody. And you get emotional. Man, you know what? I'm about to do that tomorrow, man. I'm about to do that tomorrow. I'm about to come up. Go home, babe. I'm telling you, I know I've been fucking up, but I'm about to blow this shit up. I know I got this idea. I'm telling you. What? Then the idea goes bad, and then you're emotionally tied to the feeling of a failure. Now you make more bad decisions. By the way, that's an old player game on the streets, a hustle game and hustling business. They use that against you. They motivate you to participate and then motivate you to spend more money to avoid the pain of the loss. Keep going. But
you can be sure your decision-making skills will rapidly erode if you are emotionally charged.
What else?
Stress.
What?
Anger.
Wait, you just said stressed?
Stress.
Then we talk about how, so remember Shakina and I said in this class, a lot of tunneling is the stuff we've been teaching this class for quite some time. And a lot of stuff we've been teaching this class is how to gain a certain level of clarity to stabilize yourself as a human being, right? From the trauma retreat to all the books, emotional intelligence, to Code Extraordinary Minds, to the book Liminal Thinking. A lot of these books have been about, a lot of these podcasts is how do you see the world to gain footing, get your footing back, right? Because sometimes you just feel like you're in a whirlwind. If you are stressed, anger, fear, anxiety, greed, euphoria, are mental states of, what's that, antithetical to quality decisions. What was it? Sorry. All mental states are, so just you're suffering euphoria. That's not R, not O-U-R, A-R-A-R. But when you're in these emotional states, part of tunneling, let me reverse this for you so you can help you see this. Being in constant emotional states is keeping you tunneling. So when you make decisions, you don't realize you're making tunnel decisions because you're in a constant emotional state. You got to pull those two apart.
Yeah, can I jump in real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
Remember when I had answered a question, I forget, maybe it was Akaja, and it seemed like a really solid, complete answer. And then Nana answered the question just as solid. It's like the elephant thing, right? Like, damn, that's a dope ass. Man, he just described a dope ass tail. Almost like there's nothing else but the tail. And then next thing you know, he answers like this, a face. That's when we're tunneling, we think that answer is the answer and we jump on it. But when you have that, when you avoid tunneling, you realize that there's more answers.
Always. But when you're stressful, you get into these binary choices, good or bad. I'm gonna fuck you up or not fuck you up. That's all I got. Go ahead. I'll turn the microphone on.
I was wondering, how does intuition play in this? Because I feel like this is like learning how to trust yourself in decision making. So how do you, I guess in a way, ignore emotions, but also follow your intuition?
No, intuition is trained. I don't have any intuition. If you make me a fireman tomorrow, I got nothing for you. I'm just gonna run. I ain't got shit for you, right? I'm gonna be in front of your house with the water on myself. I don't know what to do right now. I just know I ain't about to get burned, right? That's all I got for you, right? But the fireman who trains every day, that'd be like, that's the worst fire in the world. He like this in the water. Hey, I'm okay. I suggest y'all get underneath
Y'all
this
better
water.
run.
But if you just imagine that picture, you'd be like, oh, hell no. I hate these Oakland ass firemen. But the point is this, what I'm saying is this. Intuition comes from experience that get converted to heuristics, meaning at the top of your mind. But if you think, otherwise you're making intuition a voice of God speaking directly to you. And it's kind of like I think God gets blamed for so much stuff that ain't got nothing to do with God itself, right? And I'm going to say what Pastor Chris, because Pastor Chris is great at that kind of stuff. But the point I'm saying is this. Intuition comes from experience. And so as you train something, because in business, everything can't be a deep decision. And it gets pulled far apart. Like there's these quick decisions you make every day. Like somebody runs, hey, now what should I do? You don't say that, now, what should I do? I go, let me think, let me process this. So, what's my foresight? What's my hindsight? What's my emotions? Okay, cool. I'm not telling. Cool. People are like, no, I can't ask you shit else. This is too much. We're in the middle of the fire. That's where the instinct kind of thing kicks in, right? But that grows over time and experience. Because at one point, that decision you just made was a deep thought. So the more you practice complex ideas, they get shifted to impulsive feelings, this awareness, this alignment with your environment. But if you pull me out of my environment and put me in a strange environment, my niece, right, Cora's daughter, if he just put me in the house with her and say, take care of my niece, he could come back home and be like, yo, you didn't do this, this, and this. And I'm like, well, I just use my intuition. No, I don't know. I got to learn how he takes care. Then once I get used to it, I can be like, yo, I can feel something's going wrong here. I'm using my intuition, right? Because there's a certain type of order and feel because I'm familiar with the environment. So the danger with intuition is sometimes we go back to what Court said. We try to use it in a way to cushion our falls.
So when we have intuition, then we take that, whatever that feeling is, back to process. To manage, like, oh, is this an emotion going on? Is this a true intuition telling me so? So it's.
I don't even
You don't even like that word. Intuition.
Well, yeah, I don't because okay. If we were talking about the worker consciousness, I would have a different answer for you. When you're leadership conscious, the stakes are always high. Okay, let's say you made $1 million right now. You had $1 million in your bank. I mean, you really need to imagine having $1 million for this statement to work. And I said, hey, listen, I got a way to make you $2 million. Don't analyze me. What did your intuition say? What would you tell me? What the fuck we talking about intuition for? It's my $1 million. It's my money. I said, no, but just give me your intuition.
Okay.
All right.
So it's really learned, like, okay, people that come at me like this is my experience with them. This is how I feel about it. That's what's going to make me make my decision. So
one more layer beneath that. Context.
Okay.
Context of the moment, the space, the person coming to me, context. There's so many contexts of the story. So even though A and B happens, if you change the context of A and B every time, and like say we're making a movie, and A and B happens every time. Guy walks in the room, pulls his gun, the other guy runs out the room, right? If I keep changing the context, why he pulled his gun and why he ran can continue to change. And you can have 5 or 6 different movies in the same scene. That's how life really works. So the problem with just looking at A, and B, you got to always look at context of all things that's happening around you, being in other people's shoes. It's almost like you got to get outside. You got to get past yourself. You become the lens of how you judge everything around you, meaning that you distort everything you see. You have to learn to look through so many different eyes to broaden your perspective to make grander choices. Even though this is really a weakness of the human brain, let me reach out to these other people to reinforce myself because I can't do this alone, right? But when it's all up, when you're going through your tunnel or to access the world, it's always the same tunnel. And there's a reason your hard work eventually leads you to the same outcome. Because you go through the same, you never change tunnels. You don't even know other tunnels exist because you've gotten so romantically connected to the way you see the world. You forgot there's so many different ways. Like when I hear people talking about they hate Republicans or they hate Democrats, I'm thinking y'all say the same shit to each other. If you ever listen to both of them, like listen to NPR for 1 week and listen to Fox News from next week, they complaining about the same shit from a different angle. And you're like, y'all sound so stupid. Because no one wants to sit in the other person's shoe. No one's like, if there's a trans person talking, and you might be tired of seeing all the trans stuff on news, but if you sit in there, you'd be like, oh, okay, I see what you're going through. Like, go down and talk to somebody. Go, oh, damn, okay, I didn't know that. Didn't know that either, right? And then go to a conservative person and go, oh, I didn't know that either. And you realize the answer is on neither side. It's somewhere in between the answer to the problem. But if you take a side, then you kind of have that narrow group thinking. That's one of the earlier ones. That's tunneling. That's all forms of tunneling. So this whole conversation is, how do I get you out of tunneling? And many black people suffer from tunneling because of the shit we've been through. Right. Even if you didn't go through that shit, you probably could be suffering from your parents tunneling because of the shit they told you how life works. And that's how you move through life with a tunnel type perspective. So it's one of those things that... like, even people are like, oh, white people are this. I'm like, well, not that's tunneling. When you sit down, all white people don't feel like all or nothing. It's the variation of human behavior. And you might find 1 million people that don't even fuck with you in America. They fucking hate black people. And you'll forget the 349 million who fuck with you. That's how crazy this shit is. But that 1 million can be so overwhelming and can reinforce your tunneling so much, there's no other form of logic as far as you're concerned. That's why we say, oh, it's hard to make it out here. Well, it depends on, that's because you're tunneling. That's survivor mode. That's not you. It's a consciousness that goes beyond your rational thinking. Otherwise, you think when you make a mistake, you'll blame yourself when it's really deeper than that. It's deeper than that. That's why one of the things in this class is to not victimize you and victimize people around you. and realize, oh, we're under a hypnosis of tunneling because of lack of resources, which makes us we do two things. This is two things that come out of lack of resources. Either you make bad decisions where you don't consider all the alternatives, or you overcommit to bad decisions. One of two things happen all the time. You'll overcommit to bad decisions, or you will make other decisions where you won't consider all the alternatives. So tunneling is so you don't want to bring things like instinct and I'm not poo-pooing on instinct. I think it has its place. Don't bring religion into it. I think religion definitely has its place, right? It has its value. But there's different layers of thinking that goes into decision making, and not just one or two layers.
Okay, so I think the question came because I feel like a lot of times I don't trust myself in business, and then it'll go the way I thought it would, and I'll be like, oh, I didn't trust my intuition. But what it really came down to is I'm not using decision-making skills, because then I can...
Right, because what you just said right there, that was a bias right there. And that's also, there's a couple of distortions in your way that you process that, which I'll get into a little later, but it had nothing to do with you. And then you beat yourself up. And you should have been part of the conversation. When you don't know something, it's perfectly cool. We got to get to a point that's back to like, it's cool not to know some shit. Then surround yourself or learn to build tools, because this game is a tool game. This game ain't about super brain that can know everything. It's what you're hearing is that entrepreneur who made it, who don't understand why they made it, don't equate the proper equation to it. I can get into the reasons of probability and science around that. But they don't understand why they made it, but their ego creates reasons why they made it. And I did this, and I knew this, and I understood, and I did that. They just lied to you. And then once you'll find out one day, you realize, no, they just had dope ass tools. White people do it to all other races all the time. George Washington, he did this. And the founding fathers knew this. Bruh, put that shit in context, and you realize everybody in this room can do the same thing.
I feel like that's my ego still making me want to, the idolization and whatnot.
Perfectionism, and it's beating you up. Yeah, it's beating you up. Go ahead.
Also, in the framework of what you mean by intuition, it's not a reliable tool. So as an entrepreneur, you need filters that are reliable in your system, because that's not scalable. It's not a reliable tool. So if you build a business that grows and it has 15, 20 employees, and you're moving like that, then that's scary.
You have to have, you want for your employees, you want for the customers.
Yeah.
You won't for your product no more.
You got to have reliable tools that run through a filtration system. Give a shit where the idea comes from, but you have to run it through your filter. Other people, ideas, scrub it, get it beat up, your experience, your research, the game. So then at the bottom of that filter, it spits out, all right, I'm going to try this or I'm going to not. But you can't say, well, what made you think of that? Well, my intuition. That's bad as an entrepreneur. Now, if it's so happy, like it's bad as an entrepreneur.
It's even bad in the family, because at times your intuition can be masked in trauma. That's my intuition. No, you just traumatize it. It's okay. And then, that's why I had to beat my child ass. No, that's not true. I just made some shit up. And you don't want to, the basic, so the end, what I'm most concerned for you is protect you. Right? And also too, the thing that bothers me sometimes is that, because we don't know the rules of statistics and probability, and we play the game of perfectionism, we often shrink ourselves in the process, and not realizing that we don't see the greatness in our brilliance, and we don't know how to stand on that foundation as we reach for the next level. But often we're questioning our footing, and we never reach.
Hey, me and Nana have a friend that when he wants to sell us on something, he'll say, hey, God spoke to me last night and he gave me this idea. So what the fuck? I'm gonna argue, I'm gonna say no to God now?
Yeah.
It's fucked up position you put me in.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not about to tell you God, your God sucks. Like, I'm not doing that. Like, no. And because no, you can't put people in that. And another way you say God, my mother told me when I was a child. I'm not touching that God either. Yep. No, I am not touching that God, right? Or it saved my life, Nana. All right, I'm out. Where were we at? Oh, okay, so.
Understand incentives.
Okay, this one is Painfully powerful. Understanding incentives. She can go to her back pocket. Give me that shit back, girl. Hey, Shakita's so smooth tonight. You know who holds his microphone, right? You need to break yourself. Yeah, wait, go ahead. No, I just want you. She somehow just makes it back to you. Anyway, go ahead.
Consider carefully what incentives exist and what behaviors the incentives might motivate.
Okay. When you're making a decision, are you analyzing things? This is all part of the same ecosystem. Pay attention to the hidden incentives. Status, value, money, relationships. Have you ever talked to somebody and they just wasn't responding properly? And you're like, I'm like, yeah, should be Javon. He motherfucker ain't shit. You know what I'm saying? He just told my mom, he ain't never been no good, nothing. You know what I'm saying? You know, last week he was at McDonald's talking about can he get a discount? The motherfucker didn't have $5, but he rich and shit. You understand me? And she'd be like, And then 2 weeks later, Javon walks up to me and go, I heard you was talking about me, brother. You didn't know about that relationship, did you? Right? It's one of those things where if you don't understand people's incentives, if you hungry, incentive. You sleepy, incentive. You sexually attracted, incentive. Scared, incentive. Broke, incentive. Chasing popularity, incentive. Red bottoms, incentives. Jordans, in trouble. Right? It's like once you understand the incentives, everything translates better, and often audio tunneling. So if somebody asks you to make a decision and is near one of your personal incentives, don't trust yourself. Don't trust yourself. You feel abandoned your whole life, and somebody makes a decision. Hey, I want to ask you a question. What if I left you for a year? I can't answer that question. You can't. You can't. It's too close to your incentives. No, I'm going to have to use my free phone call to make a phone call real quick before I can answer that question. Can you give me a few hours? This is my danger space. Know what your incentives are. Know what your business is. Know your employee. You'll know your employee that's about to betray you. And here's the thing. When somebody betrays you on incentives, they don't know they're betraying you. It's not even moral for them. They can't even see it no more. It becomes their new rationalization. Remember I told you, okay, did you guys know that the people who want to do the most good in this world are the most righteous people, have caused the most deaths in this world? So what we don't realize is that they thought they were doing good. Don't think that you have a moral barometer that's going to say, hey, you kind of getting too over to this tipping point. If you want that bunny strong enough, Kaja and Charlize is going to do a video you don't want to see. If it gets to that strong enough point, if they're not honest about themselves. The ability to tell Disney no is not possible in your tunneling if your incentive is, I got to get that bag. Why am I not branding? Why didn't my business last long? Because I made impulsive bad decisions where I got the money, but I died overnight because guess what? I forgot what game I was playing because I got caught up in my tunneling because my incentives distracted me. This shit is so cold. Like I say, if you go and listen to this podcast, he's breaking this shit down left and right. His incentives was, he said, my greatest weakness is that I'm always trying to help people. He said, I have a hero problem. And the second thing he said is that I'm committed to protecting the culture of art, which empowered him to make yes and no's and pull those proper levers when he strategically saw it was fit. But if you're incentivized because you're hungry, starving, or broke, now here's the thing, you can know you broke. And you say to yourself, I know I'm broke. Fuck, I'm broke. Hold on, let me call you. Tell you what, I know you're mad about wanting your money back. Let me call you right back. Hey, Court, this person called me. They want their money back. I'm broke, man. What should I do? Can I give you your money back? Fuck, I knew I was going to answer. Okay, thank you. Hi, John. Here's your money, man. Sorry that I gave this problem to you. And you might think, I took that fucking loss today. But 6 years later, John is giving you more money than you can ever dream of because he respected your integrity. You see the game? And this is where, if you think about this lesson I'm teaching right now, you can see a whole bunch of mistakes. You can almost see mistakes just falling out of the sky in the Black community. A lot of stuff that we suffer from, our scarcity, our poverty, our stress, our anger, and all the mistakes that keep holding us back. All these beautiful, brilliant people who are stuck in the tunnel. So when Shakina asked that question, it deserved for me to take some time and bring that answer back because it's that fucking dominant. Finish the point.
Financial incentives are generally easy to spot, but non-financial incentives like reputation, status, or fairness.
Wait a minute, did you say fairness?
Mm-hmm.
Fairness?
Mm-hmm.
Like Draymond Green fairness?
Mm-hmm.
Like LeBron James on fairness?
Mm-hmm.
Like some of y'all on fairness? But that's not fair. And remember I said last week, hey, fairness doesn't scale well. And some of y'all can't make decisions because you're stuck in the, but that's not fair. That's not fair. And you tunnel. And you make the worst decision. Why do you think when you're going against a strategist, they will tickle that discomfort with fairness and they'll say something that makes you feel unfair, knowing that at that point, they can throw out a whole bunch of shit, you won't even hear it. Because your brain's stuck on that one point, like, this motherfucker just told me that he wouldn't fuck with my family. What the fuck is, this motherfucker got me fucked up. And the good dude doesn't say about 20 different things. He knows I need to block your thinking and I need to whoop your ass's negotiation. And you done. Or I can guilt you and be like, listen, as a company, we've had a lot of unfair stuff happen to us. And somebody just recently stole some stuff from us and we took a loss last week in business. Now, really, that's my motherfucking fault. But I'm gonna sound like a victim. So I'm thinking like, I don't have a lot of money. Maybe I can just do, I know this contract is usually like $30,000. I'm thinking, I know it's a lot to ask of you and I know you're a good person. How about 5,000? Some of y'all gonna make that shit work. Cause just, I've been through that kind of unfairness and they deserve fairness. Social justice, Nana. And then Nana walks around and fuck your fairness. Fuck that, tell that person no. They go find some more money. Oh my God, that's so harsh. Cause they all sound the same to me. Whether you're man or woman, they all sound like that. Tells you a lot about myself. Keep going.
Are less obvious yet still important in driving decisions.
Last slide for last slide of this one. Go to the next slide. Now, this one is this right here. This is how the subprime loan fucked up America. This is how ghettos are created. This is how many of you lives are fucked up right now. This is how some of you guys are so intelligent you broke. Say this.
What may be individually good for group members can be destructive for the group overall.
Say again, because they didn't really hear you, that even though people got cheap loans and were able to buy houses who could never buy houses before. Read that again for me.
What may be individually good for group members can be destructive for the group overall.
Your car broke down and you can't afford a mechanic, but at least you worked on your car and for your house. Can you read that one more time?
What may be individually good for group members can be destructive for the group overall.
It's so unfair that John Morant is being treated like this for just hosting a gun. We got to respect him as a human being. You kind of see where I'm going with this? Your individual rights and fairness to the individual can destroy the group. There's a principle that says, if a behavior starts to arise amongst a large group of people, sometimes you have to make an example of a single person within that group who broke that rule to deter the rest of the group from breaking the rule. So I just gave you 10 years for stealing a candy bar. And you go, what the fuck? But you notice that our companies don't steal like that? But if I was fair to you, I'd be like, well, okay, I understand. This is where social justice makes me want to throw the fuck up. Because as they justify individual acts in our community, our individual systems that underperform, our individual people who should not be performing in that fucking environment, they compromise the overall structure. Even when you hire a motherfucker because you individually listen to individual stories. No, the group has to eat. If the group is not protected, all individuals, including you, fall. So at the end of the day, you can never find yourself over loyal to one. I was watching, there's a show on Paramount Plus about the making of the Godfather. And dude brought his girlfriend in. He's a producer, so he produced films. So his girlfriend owns a hotel. She's like, yo, babe, I want to produce a film too. I saw this script on your desk. I think I can produce it. So he's like, okay, fine. Come on, babe. You can produce. So she walks in the office. I'm going to share office with you. So the administrator's like, what the hell? Why is she in the office? Well, this is back in the 70s. So then the actual head of Paramount walks into the office, is like, I'm not sure about The Godfather because we can't find the right artist. And mind you, the reason they couldn't find the right artist is because Frank Sinatra, who was connected to Mafia, thought the movie was about him. So he kept telling the Mafia, shut this shit the fuck down. But he didn't tell his wife the heat he was dealing with at the time. I'm telling the story for a reason. So she comes out the room and she goes, everybody knows this but her. She comes to the room, she goes, you know who would make the movie work? And the guy's like, well, oh, excuse me, who are you? And she's like, oh, I'm his girlfriend, future fiance, whatever. And she says, I think you guys should get Frank Sinatra to play the Don. And everybody's like, yeah, okay, good, yeah, okay. He said, come walk with me for a second. And he's like, yo, he's screaming like, I need this fucking thing to work. And second thing, stop shitting where you eating. What he said was, this is where you eat. Build a proper system and protect that system. Don't fall in love with this woman and bring her into the environment where you're eating, because that's shit to our world. If you don't understand business, that may seem harsh if you're in that love space. Oh, but it's this woman, and she was doing the best she could, and she really cared. That's advice some of y'all would give your friends. But if it was me, and Court was talking to me, yo, man, you get your woman out of there, man, you fucking up. You shit when you eat. When you're building stuff for the group, there's times, if you're in a basketball team, I don't give a fuck how much I love this player, you fucking my game up, you gotta go. Fuck what you heard. I'm trying to win. You guys getting this business stuff, you guys get into too much, I feel this way, they feel this way. You make it to these you gotta get out of that micro analysis of everything and tit for tat and right for wrong and fairness. All those ideas doesn't serve the group. That's business, that's life. That's what it is. If you try to build something great, no, I can't take all the students. If you want to build a great school in Oakland for black folks, every story ain't true. I hear you. Did it pass? Did they finish that test? How'd it look? Yeah, okay. Well, Casamance open next year. And you got to know that. Because once you start serving the individuals, you destroy the performance of the greater group. And greatness comes from having that separation of space. It doesn't mean that you don't take care of the people at the bottom. I'm not suggesting that. I'm not saying you don't care about people at the bottom. I'm not suggesting that. I'm not even saying that you don't look for all the diamonds in the rough. I'm not even saying, I really believe in that because that's what I am. What I'm suggesting is sometimes we morally, mentally, psychologically, economically commit to individuals, including ourselves, over the greater whole. Rational, and here's where I say this is why the most intelligent of us, become the brokest of us, because we use this individual rationalization that is brilliant. I'm talking about you are so brilliant you broke. That's real talk. Because you can rationalize why I feel this is wrong to me, even when you say, as black people, this is unfair to us. Okay, so what happens to the rest of the world when we make it fair? That's a hard thing to process. Well, in Oakland, black people in Oakland, yeah, but what happens to the rest of everything else? And is that sustainable and will it work? I don't give a fuck. That's why when I do donuts, I don't know why it's a problem. I'm just doing me. I ain't hurt nobody. Yes, you are. You might be right in your personal rationalization. You're right. Yeah, you're right. Cops didn't arrest you. That's right. You didn't shoot the gun. That's right. You didn't break anything. That's right. You got a little rubber that can be washed off. That's right. Did you pay attention to the property values in that neighborhood? You took money out of everybody's hand? You good with that? Oh, now those people are moving. So now your schools are underfunded. Now when you finally have a kid, they go to a fucked up underfunded school. And now you're blaming the government. Oh, that's what we're doing now? But as long as we respond to your individual right, we can't protect the group. That's why when if you've ever lived in a luxury place before, y'all had to follow hella other outside rules that you didn't even create. Because the rules were designed to protect the group over the individual. Trust me when I say this. And this is this is tunneling. This is not, so how do you tunnel in this space? Now I felt, I didn't get my respect. I'm tunneling? What? I am? I guess I am, huh? Yeah, I am. Hey, I'm just not happy with y'all. I'm not happy with the way you talk to me. I think that you should think about the way you talk to me. Oh, I ain't gonna think about how I showed up to the space that I was in when you talked to me because I feel like I'm offended. That's what tunneling is. You can never see other people's angle. Only thing angle you see is I and how I felt in that moment. And so you rational, and when you take that rationalization to another I person, they be like, that shit is brilliant. If you say it on TV, you may get hella likes and applause, applauding and Oprah. You go, girl! Right? But at the end of the day,
Wait a minute.
But the key thing I'm trying to explain to your attention is this. The I paradigm, the I space is fucking you up and is tunneling. I hate to say it, you are an animal that's tied to a herd. If you're not constantly equating the herd into your equation of how you're moving around, you are stuck in your own fucking personal ego. Individualism is an egotistical movement. It's overweighted towards you. This is why you can't take advantage of the group. You can't rally the group. You can't get the group to buy your fucking products because it's all about you. I like my website. Oh, everybody told me they liked it. My friends like it. I think it's tight. I like my product. I like how I sold my stuff. What's wrong with my business? I think I'm cool. You think I just made that shit? That's the most common thing you hear. When people walk into my office and they want to do their branding, they want to tell me what they feel. And you know how hard it is to get past what they feel? It's rare that I hear people come out and say, hey man, I've been gaining insights. Let me share these insights. I want you to help me process these insights. I mean, I'm leaning towards this, but it might just be me. I don't hear that. I hear, well, hey, I got I did a focus group, and I looked at the data, and I think what they meant was this. So this is why I did this, and this is why I think I'm good. I talked to some customers, and the questions I asked them, and this is what they said back to me, and this is how I interpreted it. Oh, I'm tunneling? Yes, the fuck you are. So when this man taught you guys survivor mindset, he was teaching this, the introduction to this shit right here. Shit right. See, that's it. Shit right here. This shit right here. It's just Oakland. I can't get that shit out of my fucking way I see it. Anyway, point is this. so is that these 5 layers of tunneling that I just introduced to you guys, it's the symptoms that you're going to have to work against to not continuously be a victim of something that's invisible to you. It just feels like the universe is against you, or racism is just that damn strong. And it's really the space. Okay, so it is racism, but it's not how you see it. If I put you in a space that's underfunded, I will produce survivor and scarcity mindset. And the survivor and scarcity mindset will cause you to get caught in this loop. White folks can't hold the line. They just put you in that loop. Now, if you want to get yourself out of that space, you're going to have to get yourself mentally, pull yourself up by your bootstraps mentally, not by that Republican shit. You're going to have to mentally readjust the way you see the world to take advantage of the opportunities that's passing you by every fucking day because you're stuck in your I world. That's the game. That's one of my biggest, if I want to say one of my biggest contributors to the difference in my life than a lot of people, is learning to psychologically pull myself out, to change the lenses that I'm looking at the world through. And I realize I can't go to the majority of the world. I can't go on Facebook and share my ideas no more. Because most of the people are tunneling on Facebook. Are they performing? Performing or tunneling? It's rare I can go to a place. So I have to find people who are also builders, who also are breeding results, to say, hey, man, here's an area I might be falling into a trap in. What do you think? But guess what? You never 100% remove it, so you build tools to protect yourself from yourself. You build tools to protect yourself from yourself. Otherwise, even when let's say you take this class right now, you write down these notes, you study this shit, for the next 2 years, you just work on this shit like a religion. Like, I ain't fucking with this list. They gonna hold me as no slave. I'm about to be free. And as soon as you get comfortable and you hit another level and you get another challenge, it worked down here, but now you're tunneling up here. You see the difference? So you got to constantly work on this ego shit, this tunneling shit. And this tunneling shit is scarcity and survivor mindset, transitional thinking. All that stuff is not an immoral behavior of yours. You don't even see yourself when you're doing it. And when you get on the other side, going back to what you said earlier, it's going to blow your mind how many people are doing it. So when you're amongst them, it feels like it might be me. It might be me. And you think of some extreme cases, some Charles Manson level cases, right? But when you get on the other side, you realize, oh my God, this is a fucking epidemic. Everybody's doing this shit. And some of that shit is popular. It's in rap songs. It's being celebrated. It's being applauded by Oprah. And you're like, that shit sucks. It's not true. But you'll realize the world ain't building. You listen to the 80%, you're not listening to the 20%. And when you finally find the 20% to hear, so for example, I found all these 20% sources I can go to. I can listen to the builders, and they can hear it. They can hear it. You can hear the way they frame their words, the choices of sentences. They are literally saying, I know that this could possibly be tunneling. So I use these tools and I'm processing the response, or you may even answer them a question and say, hey, listen, I may not be the right person to answer this because of where I'm coming from. But they hear themselves and they're speaking to their imperfections. But when you get to the other side, everybody's gurus. You guys ever pay attention? This is my last one. You ever pay attention to the streets? He's in his car and he's looking like he's just the hardest guy. Like you look at him like that motherfucker look hard. Like you hoping to God you're not his target that day. But if you keep driving around the city, you realize there's thousands of them. And they all think they're the hardest until the other one shoots them. You ever tripped on that kind of shit? That's the same thing with this ego thing. Everybody's trying to be the best, but none of them are the best. But when in isolation, they will sell this fucking conversation on how great they are, when that's not how the game works. Because that's not how the world's made. And so we all get caught in the same argument, boss and player and Mac and this, I'm running shit, I'm doing things, right? And at the end of the day, no, it's not, it doesn't work like that. It really doesn't. It's all distortions and lies and illusions. But when you get to this other side, when you start to see that, I'm limited. I'm a human being. I don't have those skills. So I'm going to put these things in place. I'm just going to increase my awareness. By increasing my awareness, I'm going to know how to turn that tool on and go to work, or how I want to back the fuck up, or when to just shut my fucking mouth. Shut the fuck up. The best martial art move I have is, that's called shut the fuck up move. You should say that's a new kung fu move I just showed y'all. Right? But once you shut the fuck up, you realize I'm giving myself space. Or just say, I don't know. Give me a second to figure this out. I don't know if I'm qualified to give you the answer right now. This is in my weak space. If we meet in court in Atlanta, one of the top clubs, and a real pretty girl comes over to us and say, can I work for you? I'm like, get me out of this club, bro. Get me out of this club. I don't trust myself for shit.
She starts Monday.
Hey, brothers, no, don't ask, don't play with that. Don't play. As men, young boys, y'all don't know yet. Grown men, we know, don't go over there and play with that. because there's a hidden incentive that I can lie to myself all I want. I'm going to tunnel when I'm around her. I'm going to forget about family, kids, response. And Zinga is going to become invisible for 5 minutes. I'm like, no, I ain't doing nothing on Thursday. You know what you talking about? You know what I'm saying? I'm free. Yeah, girl, you know me. I'm out here just doing me. You know, so, and then when I leave, I'll be like, what the fuck was wrong with you? That same ignorance is how you do your money. Same ignorance. Same ignorance. That being said, as they say in Jewish Russia, I don't do it. I just, hey, I'll holler at y'all next week. See y'all next week. Peace.